Welcome to the dojo.
Check out Joe, he's a Reddit bro, likes to edit posts, and he starts to gloat when he gets the most of votes or likes. Yeah, he's really hyped, really psyched, cause the crowd is really tight and the work is really light. His training plan is the first thing your eyes see, cause he got more follows than my boy Eric Dicey. Opinions on Magnus, Hans, and Karyakin, who cheated who, which engine did he hacking. He got blocked by Short, ignored by Dvorak, but he can't be wrong, he scored a like from Truong. He's got lightning attacks on GM blunders and gaffes, true not over the board, it's only the other chap. Still his 7-year plan ensures the last laugh. Distractions detract from any actual actions. Excuses are useless, he rues his inaction. Awaits satisfaction, the status of Magnus. He bought 50 books and opened up 10. Fools ought to read Psalms, not my system. He's got 30 alt accounts on every site around. Chessable courses keep looking cheaper by the pound. He got 22 databases and 36 engines, 25 chess sets, and a massive clock collection. He bought merch from Gotham, Bra and Naka, but his game history looked like some chess copy pasta. A GM coach that he don't listen to, and if you think it is, then yes, my friend, yes, this is you. But that all changed one bright sunny day when a friend said, hey, don't you know, welcome to the dojo, it's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo, I gave up on the easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. Sweatwork's what I believe, ratings what I'll receive. Don't you know, welcome to the dojo, it's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo, I stepped away from easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. If sweatwork's what I believe, ratings what I'll receive. So Joe got into the business, stopped the app sickness, daily practices rhythm, he even upped his fitness. He found sparring cathartic, postmortems charming. With the plus equal minus, he was armed for elo farming. With notepad and pen, he built up calluses, escape rating paralysis with lengthy game analysis. With sensei direction, he sold his collection. Read one classic and that was fantastic. Now he locked to the spot where they checking off boxes. Young prodigies and some wily old foxes. 3.5 points per box, that's shocking progress. Goal nearing, cohort cheering, Joe doesn't hear it. He's monotasking, no relaxing, concentration maxing. One book, one board, one set, one thought. Work will work, will work, work, never stop. One book, one board, one set, one thought. Work will work, will work, work, never stop. Now occasionally, he peeps the world of the tweet and laughs when he sees the player that he used to be. Blank face staring, complex plans comparing, while he's dojo training hours a day, playing out positions, transpositions, and growing his board vision. Transition from poser to player, focus without a care. He leaves them complaining in his dust, staying with their week-old ratings. Blast past his week-old rating, each week's a new occasion. He never takes vacation, the work is entertaining, the growth he's maintaining. And now Joe is explaining, hey, don't you know, welcome to the dojo, it's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo, I gave up on the easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. If sweatwork's what I believe, ratings what I'll receive. Don't you know, welcome to the dojo, it's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo, I gave up on the easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. If sweatwork's what I believe, ratings what I'll receive. Welcome to the dojo.
Welcome to the dojo.
Oh, by the way, check out Joe, he's a Reddit bro, likes to edit posts, and he starts to gloat when he gets the most of votes or likes. Yeah, he's really hyped, really psyched, cause the crowd is really tight and the work is really light. His training plan is the first thing your eyes see, cause he got more follows than my boy Eric Dicey. Opinions on Magnus, Hans, and Karyakin, who cheated who, which engine did he hacking. He got blocked by Short, ignored by Dvorak, but he can't be wrong, he scored a like from Truong. He's got lightning attacks on GM blunders and gaffes, true not over the board, it's only the other chap. Still his 7-year plan ensures the last laugh. Distractions detract from any actual actions. Excuses are useless, he rues his inaction. Awaits satisfaction, the status of Magnus. He bought 50 books and opened up 10. Fools ought to read Psalms, not my system. He's got 30 alt accounts on every site around. Chessable courses keep looking cheaper by the pound. He got 22 databases and 36 engines, 25 chess sets, and a massive clock collection. He bought merch from Gotham, Bra and Naka, but his game history looked like some chess copy pasta. A GM coach that he don't listen to, and if you think it is, then yes, my friend, yes, this is you. But that all changed one bright sunny day when a friend said, hey, don't you know, welcome to the dojo, it's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo, I gave give up on the easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. Sweatwork's what I believe. Waiting's what I'll receive. Don't you know? Welcome to the dojo. It's good to grow. Welcome to the dojo. I stepped away from easy. Sweatwork's what we need, G. Sweatwork's what I believe. Waiting's what I'll receive. So Joe got into the business, stopped the app sickness, daily practices, rhythm, he even upped his fitness. He found sparring cathartic, postmortems charming. With the plus equal minus, he was armed for ELO farming. With notepad and pen, he built up calluses, escape rating paralysis. With lengthy game analysis, with sensei direction, he sold his collection. Read one classic and that was fantastic. Now he locked to the spot where they checking off boxes. Young prodigies and some wily old foxes. 3.5 points per box, that's shocking progress. Goal nearing, cohort cheering, Joe doesn't hear it. He's monotasking, no relaxing, concentration maxing. One book, one board, one set, one thought. Work, will work, will work, work, never stop. One book, one
mine is definitely music.
Oh. Okay, what are you listening to? Maybe we should jam. No, I'm gonna be too distracted.
No, I don't think we should jam. I'm listening to Brazilian funk, so I don't
Okay.
think you'd like it.
It's what?
You know, Brazilian funk, like PHON. It's. I.
That sounds fun. I'd be
Yeah.
down.
Here, wait. I'm getting some. I'll go to the song radio. Okay. How do I start a
I don't
jam?
think anyone is. Oh, we have to share. Join shared chat. Okay.
Hello,
Alright.
Danielson. Bro, it's like 0030. You're outing yourself as a European. I don't know how to start a jam. Oh.
No, it took. I will probably like blunder all my pieces on move 5 if I listen to Brazilian funk.
Yeah,
Not
just
gonna
for you
lie.
to see. There you go, you can see. Oh, hello, people. Flexing your education. Hello, Moneylayer. Hello, Infinity Life and Jenny. Everyone, can we show them that we're matching?
Yes. Look what Anushka got me. She didn't even know my favorite color was green, and then she got it for me. And I was like, "How did you know my favorite color was green?" She was like, "You just give green," which was the best compliment I've ever received. It looks kind of greasy, so we're just gonna ignore that.
Okay, mine is 2.
Yours looks white on the camera.
It's because I have like 500 lights on me. It's blue.
No.
Yeah.
Elijah Miramont. Hello. Hi, Jenny and Infinity Life. I'm ready.
All right. Should we do like a 1-minute check-in on your training?
Sure.
Tell me anything that happened in the first week. I know, Rachel, that you were
For me, it's
in Vegas.
I just got back. Yeah, I got back at like midnight last night. So
Nice.
just spare time, just doing like puzzles in my spare time. But like there was never like a sit down time that I had.
Mm-hmm. So you've done a little bit of tactics here and there.
Yeah. Just trying to get through the chessable course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which chessable course?
I watched a lot of chess this weekend. Need to find the exact name.
Okay.
But I watched a lot of chess this weekend, so
For sure.
listening to Judith Polgar and Peter Lecko like talking about the positions, I think definitely helped me. It's
Yeah.
like indirect chess studying, I guess.
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
casual.
Yeah. Hearing what they
Yeah,
have
I mean,
to
you
say.
can get a certain amount just from being around it. Also, if you're paying attention, like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you can also get even more. Like, if somebody's, like, watching and, like, thinking in their head, like, oh, I think white should do this, or I think black's better, and then when they tell you who they think is better, right, it's just constant corrections, so to speak, right, or little adjustments you can make. Can be super helpful.
I know, like, there was a game, Hans versus Levon, and it was, like, opposite color bishops and pawns on different sides of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And Hans missed a win, and that was, like, a super educational game for me to just listen in on, for sure.
That was an end game, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
That specifically was an end game.
Nice.
Also, the course is called Improve Your Chess Tactics.
Okay.
700 puzzles. Yeah, it's called Improve Your Chess Tactics.
Cool.
I think Anushka told me to get it a while
I
ago.
did?
I think so. Yeah.
Probably Sarah. I don't think I have that one.
Oh. Okay.
Or maybe I did and I
Well,
just don't
I don't know
remember.
who else it would have been, so. Yeah.
Cool. And Anushka, any reports on the first week for you?
I definitely burnt myself out a little bit.
You did too much?
I did too much in the beginning of the week and I didn't like space it out enough, I think. And then at the end of the week, I realized that I have to kind of choose between work, chess, and like having a social life. I can only have like 2 of the 3. And like in the beginning of the week, I was like, oh, just working chess, and at the end of the week, I was like working in social life.
Okay.
And I think until I get to the tournament, I need to tell myself that to lock in, I'm only going to focus on chess. So
I mean, if you
burn myself out
force
a little.
yourself, won't that be even more burned out and then even less effective?
I think like the best way for me to recover from burnout is not by like, going out with people until like 5 a.m. The best way for me to recover from burnout is probably just to like take a night in and sleep. So
Okay.
yeah, I need to just lock in a little better.
Okay. Well, you know yourself best, but chess training is, I think, much less effective when you force yourself to do it versus when you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking this week about those, scripts that Matt sent us and about training and all that. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
I have this suspicion that if you asked a bunch of top players if they ever asked someone to make a training plan for them, the answer would actually be no, and that they basically just spend their entire day looking at chess no matter what, and don't really even necessarily have a plan, right? They never have to. I wonder if you asked like Aronian, have you ever forced yourself to study? He might say never. I have never forced myself to study personally in my entire life. I've never studied when I didn't want to study chess. I don't know if there was ever a moment where I didn't want to study chess, but if there was one, I definitely didn't ever force myself. So.
Yeah, that's definitely ideal. I think when there's like things to choose between, I have to make it my default, like for example, last week was like an experiment week at work, so people were staying until like 1-2 a.m. and I would like make myself come back at like 6 or like something, like some time, so that I knew that when I came home I would have at least like an hour or two to get into studying. If I didn't make myself, I don't think I would have come back, at least for that week, because there will always be something else for that I could possibly choose. So yeah, but it would be nice. Like the times when I've studied the most chess are when I just like was obsessed with like one specific thing, and then I would like wake up and do the thing. But yeah, I'm not feeling like that right now. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
No, David, I totally agree with what you were saying. Like, just I don't know. It was nice. Like, I didn't actually study any chess at the event, but like, having to pay attention to the games like in depth to be able to like interview them afterwards and ask them questions without like with knowing what's going on. Like I guess I never really watched a pro like tournament in depth like that, and so I don't know. It for me it completely changed the way that I see chess. Like Wesley So got his queen trapped like fairly early on, or like Vincent versus Javakir, like they like hung a basic rook fork and then the other one missed it, and I was like, wait, hold on, like I shouldn't be getting so upset at myself for these things. It's more about like the understanding. So I don't know. I agree with you in the sense of like just like the exposure to it, and yeah, just being
Was
surrounded
definitely
by
doing
it.
something for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So as you get further into your training this week, I think there was sort of like one specific question I had for each of you, right? So the question for you, Rachel, is going to be, does the Fisher book or do the tall games? Like which one sort of gets you towards the kind of chess that inspires you and that you want to try to play, right? Because that's one thing that we're sort of like looking towards. You only have so much time, so most of your time is going to be like the sparring and the self-reflection. The only topic that you're going to have to study is going to be this one thing, right? That's the only sort of study thing. And it's either going to be playing the tall games or the Fisher games or something else if neither of those works for you.
Yeah.
I think tall might play a little more in the direction that you want to play, but Fisher's commentary is obviously going to be better than mine. So you just have to pick what feels inspiring to you and what could, move you closer towards being like, this is Rachel's chess. And then on your side, Anushka, the one question that I have is sort of which source of tactics is going to hit the right difficulty level for you, right? Because we want to move you from like 1 to 2 minute tactics to like 5 to 6 to 7 minute tactics, right? So just like a slightly harder level of calculation, but then still with some accuracy. So as you're doing some tactic sessions, just if something's not quite right, reject it, try something else. If something seems to be working, try it again, and you can always discuss with me how that's going. Those are
I'll definitely look. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I'll definitely look through or I'll watch both the videos you sent me on the tall stuff, and then I'll definitely go through a couple of Fisher games, and then I'll tell you my feedback.
Yeah.
So far.
And you could even just do 1-1, and that might be enough for you to know, right? And then waste no time on something that doesn't inspire you. Yeah, because that study part, by the way, Rachel, is only really useful if it's inspiring you. If it's not inspiring you, like, you just might as well just skip that part completely and just do the other pieces of your training.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then beyond those are 2 questions that I knew I had about the training programs that I made for you. Those are 2 things where I wasn't sure, and I was like, we have to test and like see what works. But there could be things that I thought would work that I was just wrong about. So if you have any problem or issue with the training program, if something's burning you out, or you hate doing something, or you want to do more of something but I didn't put it there for you, whatever it is, let me know and we can discuss how to adjust it.
Yeah, I'm still like very far away from figuring out like what exact tactics will get me to that range that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I just need to take days doing different websites and just see.
Yeah.
Or maybe as I get farther in on this course, it'll get harder. Because right now it's probably like taking me less than 5 minutes usually.
Can you skip ahead in the course instead of doing everything in the course?
No. I think they're still good puzzles. Like it doesn't. I don't see them right away. But yeah, I'm starting from the beginning.
Right, but if these puzzles are taking you 3 minutes, could you try skipping ahead a chapter and seeing if they get harder?
Yeah. I'll try that.
Because there's no rule that says you have to read entire books or you have to do every puzzle in a book, right?
Yeah.
If it's 8 chapters, you might be entering it at a level 6 chapter level already, and then that's just what we want you to do with your time.
Right.
Okay. Ideally, I don't want to waste any of either of your times, right? So that's why I'd like to optimize anything we can. Okay. So let's get into opening sparring. We've done endgame sparring quite a bit, the 2 of you, so you're definitely already comfortable with the idea of like switching sides, seeing both sides of a position. You understand why it might help you to play the black side to have played the white side of an endgame. The same is going to apply to opening sparring. So hopefully that will be understandable to you quickly, that if Anushka is playing d4 and you're playing King's Indian defense against her, and you don't play d4 yourself, you play e4, and even if d4, Anushka would play the Grunfeld, not the King's Indian. Nevertheless, it's useful for you all to play games switching colors. So for example, if we did the Grunfeld today, which I suspect we will, if we did the King's Indian today, which I suspect we will, we would play it also with Rachel playing 1d4 and Anushka playing King's Indian instead of her normal Grunfeld, right? Do you 2 like understand why we would do that, or do you want to it clarified, or do you want to disagree with me?
I also want to learn the Grunfeld. Like I don't think I've had much success with King's Indian, so like I'd be super happy to just learn the Grunfeld in general. So I'm super happy to try it.
For this upcoming tournament, do you want to play the Grunfeld instead of the kid?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I haven't delved deeply into the Grunfeld, but in Chicago, people were showing me certain lines, and it looked a lot more fun to play than the kid. I think I'm more comfortable in more open positions in general.
People like Anushka.
Yeah, Anushka, like some like higher, like more, some like NMs too.
Yeah, those are higher rated friends.
You've got higher rated friends. Okay, cool. And thank you, Jesse, for the raid. Good to see you, and welcome, raiders. We are just getting started, so you've come in at a good moment where you're going to understand the whole context of everything. We're going to be doing opening sparring, which is the number one way that people in the chess dojo learn openings. I think it's going to be a first time for both Anushka and Rachel to do this, so we're kind of doing the full intro, and then we'll spar for 2 hours. So if you want to switch to the Grunfeld, we should probably decide that soon. Maybe even before we spend 2 hours sparring the King's Indian and then you don't play it at your tournament. So big difference.
Let's switch to the Grun. Or sorry, yeah, go ahead. Give me some more information on it first.
Yeah, I was going to try and give you a 2-sentence flavor.
Yeah.
So the Grunfeld compared to the King's Indian defense, right? In the Grunfeld, you're going to be sort of generally giving up pawn control of the center very early on in order to have all your pieces move out freely. So even though it's got almost all the same moves as the King's Indian, just d5 versus d6, it's a totally different feel, because in the King's Indian, you're going to be bottled up with a lot of pieces, right? And a lot of strategic choice and complexity about, do you expand on the king side or the queen side, or do you defend the queen side, or do you try and open the center in some e takes d4 options sometimes. The Grunfeld, just like from the get-go, you're willing to concede the center and just get your pieces flowing, and then counterattack the center. So, what would you like?
I think I'd be happy to try the Grunfeld.
Okay.
In worst case, like, I really don't like it, I can always go back, but I think that I don't like love the King's Indian right now, so I'm happy to change.
Looking at your schedule for the 4 weeks that remain, I imagine that switching openings is going to involve 1 hour of studying and 4 or 5 hours of sparring. For you, is that sufficient to go into a tournament and play a new opening?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure you're comfortable with that. Because I don't want you to do like 10 extra hours of opening study and memorizing lines. That's going to ruin your training time.
Yeah. No, I think as long as I know the basics and the basic ideas, I'm fine to go into it.
All right. Then it sounds like we're sparring the Grunfeld today. Oops, but before I get ahead of myself with that. So you're going to play white and black, and then you're supposed to select positions. I was going to see if you two could figure out what you should spar, and then I could tell you if you were right or wrong.
From the games that we get initially?
So basically, when you're going to opening spar, you can spar one position all day, or you can spar a couple positions. But basically, you have to pick an opening, and you also have to pick like a position you're planning to practice. Like, for example, let's say I were learning the Karo Khan, and I came in to spar with Kostya today. I would have picked like a position that I think is typical from the advanced Karo Khan or something like that, or maybe two positions that are typical from the advanced Karo Khan, and we would play those positions all day. I wouldn't just say, play the Karo Khan, go, and then we just see what line we get, because if one game I play the advanced and then the next game he plays the Panov Botvinnik and then I play the fantasy variation and then he plays the two knights, we're not going to get deep into anything. And so the process where your knowledge gets deeper and then it means more and there's like connections, that whole forming of connections and deepening and trying an idea and seeing why it doesn't work and trying a different idea the next game, that whole thing will be missing, and so the retention will be much worse.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Like, ideally, you like see an idea that looks interesting, you try it, you get a bad position, you try a different idea, you get a better position, and that's like a very good way for most brains to learn.
Okay.
So Anushka, maybe you could take a stab at picking like a position or two that we could spar today. You have any thoughts?
I could do that for the King's Indian, but yeah, for the Grunfeld, I've never played it, so I have no...
The thing is, Rachel and I have played the King's Indian, like our Arabic King's Indian, against each other so many times that like I mean, it's not like we play the same thing every time, but like we do know like what the first 15 moves of the game are gonna, like we played it blindfolded and we just kind of like rattled off the first, like I don't even know how many moves because we've just done it so many times.
Okay, so you've kind of sparred the King's Indian already in a way.
that's the thing that we've sparred the most. And then we've done the Alapin like a couple of times. Or like her playing
I
the
love the
Alapin, me playing Sicilian.
Right.
I don't like the Alapin.
Exactly, because you're playing against it.
No, I love playing against it.
The elephant is the one opening that I love. All the other
Yeah.
ones are interchangeable, can be interchangeable, but the
it's just
elephant
not
I
good.
refused.
It's just not good. I'm just not good enough at playing against it. But once I get better,
It's a
you'll see that
fabulous
it's just not that good.
Yeah, you'll disabuse her of her love. All right, so for today, Anushka, could you give us one or two Grunfeld positions
Sure.
to get Rachel started in the right direction?
Okay, I have an idea of which two. I don't know
Okay.
if they're gonna be good ones, but there's one like symmetrical line where they don't go into the mainline Grunfeld stuff, and then there's one like mainline Grunfeld that I think would probably be useful.
Okay, so I'm
Paladin
gonna,
Archer in the chat loves the elephant as well. Shout out to Paladin.
yeah.
And then Bishop Star says, I have no clue how to play against the elephant with black. So there you go.
All right,
Oh, Team Elephant.
I'm ready to take some moves, Anushka. Tell us where to go.
Oh, okay. I was trying to make a PGM. Okay.
Oh,
So
cool.
D4, knight f6,
Mm-hmm.
and then C4, and then G6, knight C3, bishop. Oh, D5. Sorry. C takes, knight takes, E4, knight takes C3, B takes C3, bishop G7, bishop C4, C5, knight E2, castles, and I guess this would be a good starting, or like where I would want to start.
Awesome. That's
And
a
then-
great one to start with.
Yeah.
And what's the
and
second
then-
one you have in mind?
Just like when they do like symmetrical stuff. So same thing, D4, knight f6, C4, G6, and then knight C3, D5, and then they just like leave it there. Like they go like knight F3, I think,
Mhm.
bishop G7, and then G3,
Mhm.
castles, and then I think castles.
They still need to play
Bishop
bishop g2, I guess, right?
Yeah. I don't remember if this is actually the right way to play. I'm sort of forgetting. Wait, let me flip the
Okay.
board. Maybe that'll make it better for me.
Sure.
Yeah,
This
bishop
could be-
G7.
I mean, because I don't know any theory about this opening, so it could be cool. Like, I'm sure I'll be playing moves that, aren't very good, and then Anushka, you could, like, see, that's not good because you know the theory, and then, but then, like, can you punish me? That could be, like, the direction of it, maybe.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how. I think C6.
You
I
want to
think
get to the
G3,
positions where black
C6
plays
is what
c6? Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
let's do
I
g3
don't
on
know.
move 3.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll go bishop g7, bishop g2, castles, knight f3. Is that a good position to play c6 and then d5?
Yeah. Yeah. This makes more
So go
sense.
c6, castles kingside, d5.
And then D5.
Symmetrical, right? So basically, because white's holding back knight c3, oh wait, none of my moves are showing. Sorry, I have to go fix something stupid here. But
We're not in a classroom, right? You're just gonna send me a challenge.
Yeah, we're just making.
yeah, I'm just I was trying to show the position on stream.
Almost squad goals for real.
So basically, because white's waiting on knight c3, black waits on the move d5 a little, because white wants to be able to play c takes d5, and then when your knight takes on d5, they're going to kick the knight with e4, and you won't be able to trade on c3, and your knight will be annoying to you. So
Yeah.
that's
That makes a
kind
lot more
of
sense.
the point of that g3 move order as I know it. Okay, maybe we'll start with the classic position and then do the symmetrical next.
Okay.
So, And I think just to be fair to Rachel, we'll just tell her the reasoning behind these first 7 or 8 moves as like a basic orientation for her.
Okay. I'm going to be right back. You can start talking about that.
All right. So Rachel, can you follow along or see it somewhere or play the moves yourself that I am going to call out here?
Yeah. Should we make a classroom? Or if you're gonna make arrows and stuff like that, that could be.
I won't. Okay, maybe.
But otherwise, you could just give me the names of. You just give me the moves, and I can put them on an analysis board.
Okay. It's gonna be pretty simple, just one line, no sidetracks, just so that you understand the point of them. So, we start d4, knight f6.
Okay.
And so the point of knight f6 is to stop white from putting the pawn on e4.
E4.
Yeah. Right. So white plays c4. Which is not really developing a piece, right? What c4 tells us at the moment is that the white player wants to control a bunch of space with pawns.
Yeah.
Right? Even at the cost of development. Black plays g6. So the idea is they're trying to develop quickly compared to white. They're perhaps looking to castle kingside quickly. And also they think the bishop might be good on g7, partly because there will be no pawn on c3, right? So there could be some pressure against the d4 square, since white's just played c4. White plays knight c3, basically saying, yeah, I'll play e4 as well next move. Yay. Right? And, I mean, kid players think it's no big deal, but I think most humans see that move from white and they go, uh-oh, this is about to get serious if we let white play e4. We better be doing something.
That was the first thing that I asked when I first learned the King's Indian. I was like, really? You just let white play e4? You don't do anything?
There you go. So you were a normal person back then.
Yeah.
So black plays d5 here in the Grunfeld. And, I mean, one idea is it stops e4 for a moment, right? Now, it also allows e4. Like, a lot of people think of the Grunfeld as being famous for giving up the center, right? But I mean, I would say in this position after knight c3, there's not really an obvious way for black to fully stop e4, right? So what the Grunfeld player is doing when they play d5 is they're saying the cost of white playing e4 is going to be a knight trade. Right? It's going to be a knight trade. And that just means that black will be less cramped. So we're going to reduce the importance of white's pawn center slightly, even before white makes their pawn center. And if white wants to play e4 without a pawn trade, it's pretty hard to do here, right? Like, you would have to do something like e3, defending the pawn on c4, and then play, bishop d3, f3, e4. I mean, it's never happening. So, of course, there are lines where white doesn't take on d5, but if white wants to play e4, they're going to have to go cd5, knight d5, and trade knights. And there's some other moves other than e4 immediately here. I think I've even seen a line where they play knight a4, trying to avoid the knight trade and wanting to play e4 next move. I've seen a line where they play bishop d2, and the idea of that is that if you trade knights, they're going to put their bishop on c3 instead of a pawn, so your bishop on g7 won't be as strong for black. Those are two possible moves here instead of e4 that both make some sense, but e4, of course, does also make sense, right? White's just seizing the center. Gimme, gimme. So black makes the pawn trade and then plays bishop g7. And 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, e4 and then e4 and then take.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the line after?
Yeah,
that?
after e4, black trades the knight on c3.
Okay.
And then plays bishop g7.
Wait, sorry. You don't play d4 right after. Sorry, you don't play e4 right after d5, right?
No. First, white trades the pawn on d5, bringing the black knight.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Off of f6, and then white can freely play e4. Black trades the knight and goes bishop g7. So looking at this position, I think white's asset is kind of staring us in the face, right? Like, if you don't realize what white has done in the first 6 moves of this game, you're not looking, right? They've built quite a nice looking pawn center. d4 and e4 next to each other plus that c pawn supporting it, right? And what has black done? Well, part of what they've done is the piece trade, right? Another thing they've done is they've put their bishop on the long diagonal, and they've gained 1 tempo over this whole series of moves, which basically happened when white played c4. So instead of white being ahead half a tempo, black's ahead half a tempo at this point in the opening. Meaning, I don't know how you guys judge when you finish the opening or when you finish development or who's ahead or behind, but one simple way that I do is I just check how many moves would it take for the rooks to see each other. So to get everybody out of the way of the rooks. So for black, that's castling, queen move, bishop move, knight move. So it would be 4 moves, and for white, it's 5 moves. So, so you see the black's got, a little speck of time to use maybe on the counterattack. And so we're going to play 2 more moves here because there are definitely branches here. So Anushka, by the way, Anushka, you picked perfect positions for sparring.
Thank you.
Because had Anushka stopped here as your sparring position, Rachel, there'd be too many different possibilities, so you wouldn't drill in enough, right? Because white could be playing bishop e3, or bishop c4, or knight f3, or rook b1, and we're going to get quite a different feeling.
Right.
Okay, so but instead she gave a particular option for white, which is playing bishop c4. The point of bishop c4 is largely development, but white's also preparing to defend the pawn on d4 with their knight. And they know that if they play knight f3, black always has the resource of bishop g4, increasing pressure. White knows from experience and logic, perhaps, that black's going to play c5 to counterattack the center and improve the bishop on g7's power. Right?
Yeah.
So knowing that c5's coming, white is saying, how am I going to defend d4 when c5 comes? Am I going to defend it, or am I going to take on c5, or am I going to push d5? Or just ignore it and sack the pawn, I suppose, right? So with this move, bishop c4, white's preparing to defend the pawn with the knight. And then Anushka gives us c5, right, putting on that pressure, and now we reveal the point of bishop c4 was knight e2. Now against bishop g4, white could always play f3, and the d-pawn is still defended.
Yeah.
And Anushka is going to castle for black, and that's our first sparring position.
Okay.
Okay. And this still gives us some room. It's basically perfect, right? She could have added 3 or 4 more moves of theory if she wanted, but then she'd be sort of forcing the game down a certain variation a little bit deep. This is just the perfect depth for the two of you immediately, this position. And also the one she picked for the symmetrical variation. Okay?
Got it.
So now the idea is for you to grab this fen, play each other back and forth. We can pick a time control anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. And sometimes people think the sparring is very prescriptive, but there's a little bit of a gray area here. There's two more factors you select before you start going. One is, do you want to play 5-minute games, 10-minute games, 15-minute games? Do you want a couple second increment or not? The other big question is, are you planning to play full games or just till about move 15? In general, when you're completely new to an opening, you play full games because you have like no experience with like the middle game plans, the end game that you typically get, etc. So it's really good for you to see what the full scope of a game looks like, right? Does black tend to get checkmated on the king side? Does white tend to get checkmated on the king side? Or does the opening produce a lot of end games, or etc., right? When you know an opening relatively well and you've been playing it for a while and you're just trying to hone in how well you play the opening phase and just, getting deeper on some ideas, then often you're playing to move 15, or if you're a master, to move 20, and just evaluating, did you get a good or bad position out of the opening? You just cut off the game at that point. You just stop at an agreed upon move, 15, 18, 20, and then you and your sparring partner decide who got the better of the opening, right? So you would say, Anushka would say, okay, like we can stop here. Like white's, got a great game. Rachel, you didn't get enough counterplay at all. And you'd say, what? Like, I've got so much play. Black's position was great. Your center was falling apart any moment now. And you could argue about it. Or you might both be in agreement, right? And you say, yep, not trying that again. And then you just go back and you play a different move somewhere along the way. For us today, I feel like we would start with full games. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And maybe something like 5+2 so we can get a good number of games in.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Cool. And then every game we'll stop and talk for between 2 and 10 minutes, depending how you are feeling, and then we'll start another game. And I'll just do some running live commentary here, so that'll just be an extra resource for you that you wouldn't normally have, but you could always go back and watch the VOD and see like what I thought about the position that you had.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess whenever you're ready, you can send a challenge and.
Okay. I'm making.
Anushka, could you do it? Yeah.
Yes.
I think I have the moves memorized.
Nice.
I'm it from the fen.
Oh yeah, sorry. You don't.
Oh yeah.
You can just play from the starting position. You don't need to use a fen with opening sparring because it's only saving you 5 or 6 moves, and actually it can be good to just get used to those moves, especially for Rachel here.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can actually
nice.
just send a normal challenge. Sorry about the confusion with the fen.
No, that's great, actually. So 5-2, and then should I play as white first, or should Rachel play as white first?
Just
Either? Okay. I'll
flip
put
it.
up to chess com.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I hope I remember the line. We'll see.
Okay. We can mute after the line starts.
That's true. We can play the first 7 moves with sound on, so if Rachel gets lost, she can just ask us.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. When I started the game, the whole chess.com thing. Okay. The format switched up on me. Sorry. Give me a sec.
Okay.
It just got watched on my stream. Okay. Should be okay now. I think it was this.
Yeah.
And then it was this and this. And this. And this. And this. Right?
Got it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Oh god. Okay.
Okay,
Oh, I'm
folks.
supposed to mute. Sorry.
So for people on my channels, I've just muted myself on Discord so they can't hear me. And now they're playing a 5-2. So hopefully that should be done as far as any echoes and stuff. All right, so they're off. So they both get castled. Very, very important point early on in the Grunfeld is always this d4 square, right? That's the number one question early on is how many attackers are on this? How many defenders, right? So when you're looking at this position, you should always know whether or not Black's threatening to take on d4 or not, right? So here Black's got 3 attackers on d4. White's got 3 defenders on d4. So it's 3-3, it's balanced. When Anushka plays knight c6, she threatens the pawn because she attacks it a 4th time. And here, by the way, with white castled, they can totally consider all the options we mentioned. Defending the pawn, like Rachel did, or pushing d5, just pushing past, or taking on c5. There's some positions early on where you can't play d5 because of bishop takes c3 check, winning the rook on a1. But here, definitely white could play d5 if they wanted to. And it would crush black, except that knight e5 hits the bishop, and knight a5 as well. So black does get a tempo to avoid getting crushed. But d5 is definitely still interesting. It might be the best move here. I'm used to people often trading once here as black and then playing knight c6. So So I'm wondering if maybe knight c6 allows a good d5 for white. But we got bishop e3 and a trade. White's looking for a chance to push d5, Warrior Boys production. It's desirable to push d5, but they have to pick the right time to do it. So now we get knight a5, tempoing the bishop out of the way of d5. The bishop's almost surely going to drop back to d3, but Rachel's very new to this opening, so she's going to think a few seconds here and there. You just got to get used to what are my squares, you know? If you've seen a position like this before, you know that the bishop has to go this way, but if you haven't seen it before, you just have to check. Is it not better to have a wall of pawns when playing against a fianchetto bishop? Sure, it's nice to have a wall of pawns, yeah. But black is going to put a lot of pressure on d4, so sometimes pushing ahead is really nice for white. And we don't have a b2 pawn from the very beginning, so it's just not guaranteed that we can keep that diagonal strong or tough against the bishop. So now b6. So she's making room for this bishop to get out of the way. Personally, if there's not an immediate follow-up, I wouldn't play knight a5, right? Because the knight's putting pressure on white's center. So if you want to play b6, I don't see why you wouldn't just play b6 right away and leave the pressure on d4. It reduces some of white's options. So you play knight a5, in my opinion, generally at the last moment. You know, if you're trapping the bishop or if you're following up with knight c, if there's some concrete thing you're doing right away. So we get b6 here. We've got a question from chat. Is h4, h5 a possible idea? It is. Yeah. If you play h4, black might play h5 to stop you there. But yeah, it's possible. What about rook c1 here instead of bishop d3 going for activity? Now, you've got a space advantage, so you don't want to trade pieces, especially not the bishop pair. So, yeah, 100% to keep this bishop here. Now rook c1 makes sense. Bishop b7. f3. So that's blunting the bishop on b7, holding the center. So far, black hasn't achieved any clear counterplay against white's center, right? It's properly protected. And black did find piece squares, right? Squares for all the minor pieces. That's one of the really nice things about this opening. With queen d7, there's even room for the queen, and the rooks can get to the open file. Queen d2, and we get rook c8, looking to trade queens. Now, a very, very important element of this particular position, a theme, is going to be, can this knight come back off of the rim? If it can get into c4, that's almost always going to be good news for black, and if it can't, that's almost always going to be bad news. So actually, a lot of the game can revolve around this knight's position. White could swing the queen to h4, yeah, and go for an attack. But for now, I like the idea of playing against this knight. Yeah, the bishop on b7 is nicely blunted, nickel alloy, and you're totally correct. White's happy to set that up. Rook d8, bishop b1. So that is a big mistake according to my rubric, right? Which is that this knight wants to get off the side. So what should white be doing to improve their position? One idea I had was to play the pawn to d5, taking away this square from the knight. We could look for a moment to play d5, or maybe even play it right away. Another thought I have is this bishop is no longer needed with the pawn on f3, right? So we could look at a move like queen b4, looking to play bishop b5. Also, our queen here takes away the c4 square from the knight even more. So this is another move that I might really like for white here, queen b4. That's kind of the direction I would look from white's perspective here. After bishop b1, Anushka's thinking for a while, and she does bring the knight to c4. So now I would imagine that black's doing quite okay here once this move comes in. Black could trade white's bishop, which is fine for black, or they could just play b5, keep the knight on that square, and expand these queenside pawns, which is going to be a pawn majority over here. Why is taking the knight squares away so important if we can't trap it with a pawn? Okay, so Chess in My Veins asking me, like, why am I saying it's all about keeping this knight stuck on a5, right, versus letting it get back? If we're never going to be able to play b4 and trap it, why do we want to keep it trapped? Basically because it becomes a really bad piece, Chess in My Veins. It can't maneuver. It reduces black's options, and so like a dream plan for white is sort of you go queen here, d5, bishop b5. Their queen's almost out of squares, right? Queen d6 maybe, and then you can trade that queen. Maybe they take with the pawn, and you can bring the knight to d4, preparing to come into c6 at some point, or you could play bishop f4, targeting that pawn. And black's knight can't respond to anything that's happening, so it can't defend the d6 pawn. It can't challenge white's pieces on nice squares in the center. It gradually, the knight on a5 will drag down a whole position. The whole position, if it can't get to a good square. Okay, simple trades from Bloodqueen, and then the bishop that was biting on e4 comes to a good square. So black has a nice position here. She gives up the bishop immediately, which is odd. I would think big advantage for black with the move queen a4 here. Coordinating with the bishops to crisscross the queen side, put pressure on white's position, but she's playing some very simple moves and then hits the spot with queen a4. So she's looking to use dark squares, and white's king position's a little bit bad. Rook here challenging her and keeping the bishop off d4 probably. The danger for Bloodqueen is she conceded the c file, right? She can't get to the c file anymore. And now the queen's been pushed back, and Rachel can emphasize that she has the c file with queen c2, preventing the opponent from playing rook c8 for a long time. Okay. Anushka challenges that d5 pawn. I would expect like bishop c4 is a normal move, improving the light squared bishop. That's not amazing just yet. A minute against 20 seconds. They've got a 2-second increment here. When you coach a player, do you take into consideration their playing style? I mean, I do. A coach should, yeah. Bishop b5. Threatening rook takes e6, but not really defending the pawn on d5 that I can tell against pawn takes pawn. Everyone else seems to have thought bishop b5 was something. I didn't see it, and as black, I would have just taken the pawn on d5. I just didn't see white's threat. Oh, it was rook takes g6, huh? Rook takes g6. Okay, you guys are all correct on that one. So now pressure on both kings. Both kings getting torn up here. And we get a dramatic tactical finish here. Black's king position falls apart. Black's also threatening queen d2 mate. Is the move queen c3 the answer? If not for queen d2 being mate, the move rook takes c5 might be a good exchange stack, because that rook's kind of weird there, but queen c3 is the answer, and Bloodqueen was ready for it. She had an instant move prepared. Now bishop c4 should be winning. Ooh, misses queen h8. But lots of good moves here now. And yeah, maybe there was no defense to rook f6 either, as well as queen h8, so maybe it didn't matter. She just played the win that she saw first. Yeah, I guess king e7, queen e5, king c8, bishop e6. Yeah, white's winning no matter what at this point. So taking on f7 did not work out for black. They needed some other kind of move there. All right, so the first game's done, and now they can discuss what they think about it for a moment.
Bishop B1 was a really bad move. I don't know why I played that move. I was just like, oh, let's get the bishop out of the way. I wonder if bishop h6 is an idea, or I should have played bishop h6 at some point earlier, maybe.
I think there was one point where I was like wondering if you could, but then I take the d pawn, so I don't think you could have.
Oh yeah. And after you played rook c8, I was like, maybe it would have been better to take it first. I'm not sure exactly. Like, I don't know what the difference is leaving all the rooks rather than trading one pair of rooks or something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I just kind of blitzed. Yeah, bishop e1 was so bad. I blitzed out. I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. But I was surprised that you took my bishop right away. I guess I could have played bishop f2, so maybe you have to.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I like took it, I realized that I like spent all of my time, and we were playing like a 5-minute game and not a classical game. And then I just like, I was all of these decisions were made on like pure instinct, so I don't have a whole lot to say after I took the bishop. Or even
Yeah, I was
taking the
surprised you
bishop.
took my knight on e2. I felt like it was like your bishop was a lot better, the light square bishop.
I wanted the d4 square. I felt like it was good that I had it, and your dark squares were pretty weak for the whole game. So I don't like.
But then I had light squares, I thought.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think pushing e6 was good. I don't. If like, but other than that, I feel like taking your knight was okay. Maybe it wasn't the best though.
I mean, I don't really know how to evaluate those kinds of things. So yeah, maybe it was e6 because I thought my rook was pretty happy on c6, and I was like, oh, there's really nothing to disturb it unless you play like rook c8 or something. But yeah, I thought I had some kind of like square control at some point, but
after e6 definitely. I think e6 fails like pretty concretely. I think you found the right like thing to.
Yeah, maybe without e6, and it's not really. I don't really have anything on the light squares necessarily. But then also like with like a7 b6, like I don't know, I can play like bishop b5, and I'm happy with bishop b5 maybe.
Also, I don't know necessarily what my plan would have been if not for playing e6. Like maybe f5 first, but like I can't come up with, or I guess just push the pawns. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I have more space after rook c6.
So, by the way, all this discussion of stuff that happens late in the middle game or even potentially in an end game, right? It's all worth having and worth doing. Even though it doesn't seem to be directly the opening. So you're totally correct to be discussing this stuff. This gives you a sense to be able to go back later and evaluate, or to be able to go back earlier and evaluate the trades you make, right? Because you'd be like, oh, I remember we once traded these pieces, and in this kind of position, the opposite colored bishops favored white or favored black or this or that, right? So this is all very useful for getting a sense of the game when you're early in learning an opening. You're asking what other plan you could have, Anushka, other than e6 and f5. E6 and f5 are both very dangerous ideas for you because they're going to tend to make Rachel's bishop better. While she currently has more space and a more active rook. If her main advantage right now is the position of her rook, what other plan could black use other than a pawn break?
Rook trade.
A rook trade.
I guess.
You could try to neutralize your opponent's biggest advantage here with
after rook c6. Yeah, rook c8. I also think like taking the knight, I'm not going to say that was like a good or bad move. That was just like I was just playing a move. But after I took the knight and I took the rook, and taking the rook I also didn't think about, and playing queen a4 I didn't think about. But instead of playing queen a4, if I had just played bishop d4 and then bishop c5 like immediately, then the rook wouldn't have gotten in the first place, which would have been better.
Then it doesn't matter who has the file, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little
but trading
phase
is also
here
good.
where the fight over the file is relatively important. Yeah. Okay. So I'll show you just like a couple points. Like one point is when you trade on c1, another alternative you have is bishop h6. Taking control of c1. Then if she trades on c8, you're the one who might play rook takes c8 and queen c7 and take over the file. You force So then it looks like black's slightly better because they have the c file. Then Rachel has to think, like, what's a good plan for white? And she has to come up with something like how to get her rook to c2 or c4 or something, since she can't go to c1. Right? She should try to neutralize the same thing there. After the rook trade, right, when the queen was on d7, instead of playing rook c6, allowing rook c8, Rachel, you've got one move where you can play queen c2, preventing rook c8. Now there's definitely pressure on Anushka to defend once you grab the c file fully there.
Sorry, wait, after which move it is?
I guess it'd be move 25 for you after she's played queen d7.
Oh, instead of rook c6.
You played rook c6, it's optically nice for your rook, but queen c2 first, preventing rook c8.
Yeah, and then bishop d4 isn't allowed either.
Yeah. So that's like, if you have an advantage, it's the c file, so you want to hold it, and from the other side you want to trade it. That could be a plan for you.
Right.
And
then, sorry, really quick, could you explain the like knight a5 idea? I'm sure that's theory.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quick.
Okay. I was asking you, Anushka, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, it is theory, so David can probably explain it, but it's like not theory that I understand well enough to like talk about. I just know that it's what you do in the Grunfeld, and sometimes, yeah. There's also like bishop g4, f3, knight a5, like that's also theory, but I'm not going to explain that either. So I'll just go to the bathroom and be right back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the main idea, Rachel, with knight a5 is to eventually bring that knight to c4. That's the main idea.
Okay. Which is what eventually. So, like, do we want like a6 b5 situation?
So you could go a6 b5, or you could put a rook on c8, and sometimes they go bishop e6. So if you look at the position after bishop d3, where Anushka played b6.
Yeah.
To me, the critical looking move in that position is bishop e6. Because if d5, you still have bishop takes rook. And if not d5, then you're trying to get your piece to c4 quickly. And if white...
so instead of b6, right?
Yeah. And if white plays rook c1 to keep you out of c4, then there's a very complicated move to calculate bishop a2.
Right.
And it's useful to see this kind of stuff because this is actually the typical kind of move you have to calculate in the Grunfeld as black, is many times you have to calculate, can I take on a2 or not? Right? Do I lose a piece to some version of queen a4, blah, blah, blah? Or do I get away with it? And sometimes you just have to make that calculation. It's like the only square for your bishop. And it's the only way you get your counterplay on b3 and c4.
Yeah. Well, right now, like, the knight is still protected, so after queen a4, you can just move the bishop back and it's okay. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. You could try bishop e6, d5, bishop d7. You could also try bishop b3 for a tempo first.
Right.
See where she goes, and then see, do I need to follow up with rook c8 or b6, or do then I retreat the bishop all the way?
Right.
But yeah, the typical idea of knight a5 is to get into the c4 square and find counterplay, right? Because white's got like every other central square pretty well covered. So that's kind of like what black's left with.
Right.
Is the c4 square.
Right.
And then a very important question came up in the first game, which is who wants to trade rooks, white or black, or does nobody?
Yeah,
right?
I was wondering the same thing.
And
like
who's gonna end up
after
with
she
the
played
C
rook
file
c8.
after the trades, and does that matter, or is it just gonna be queen versus queen on the C file? So that's one of the huge questions that you had in that game. And Anushka having more experience, you know, I would normally leave it to her to give you like a first answer on something like that. You know, like if you're sparring an opening where you've got uneven opening knowledge, which often is going to be the case, right? It's not every day that two people get together to play and they each know this opening exactly the same amount. So usually when you're sparring, there's going to be someone who has a little bit more knowledge than the other person, and you can lean into the knowledge that they already have, right? And sort of catch up really quickly by just asking them stuff. Yeah. So you could be like, Anushka, you know, you've played this before. Who wants to trade the rooks? Or what's the main factor that tells us who wants to trade the rooks, right?
Yeah. I mean, those are all questions that I'm wondering. I have no idea. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any guess yourself even, or here comes the answer?
I mean, it seems like the C file was really important, and I don't. That's not like an answer, but you know.
It's a part answer, right? Because you could be leaning towards whoever ends up with the C file is the person who will be favored by some series of exchanges. That sometimes leads to a standoff, right? Because if you trade, the other person recaptures, then oh shoot, they've got the file.
Because I was even looking at certain lines where like both of the rooks are traded, and I didn't know who that favored necessarily.
Right, you had that option from like pretty early on. As soon as Black played Rook C8 on move 15, you each decided to put the second rook on the D file. But theoretically, it was already possible to play Rook takes Rook, Rook takes Rook, Rook C1,
and then Rook C1, Rook C8, and then
Rook C1, Queen C1, and then Queen to C6 or C8. You could have just done that, thrown all the heavy pieces to that file, right?
Yeah.
And so, Anushka, Rachel's wondering who wants to trade the rooks. Is there a clear answer?
Well, I learned recently that in the end game, usually Black is happy in the Grunfeld because we have this 2-on-1 majority on the queen side, and having a 4-on-3, or I guess in this position it's a 5-on-4. I don't know if that's what we were talking about, but that's like less hard to push a pawn through. Especially like like I can like put stuff here on d6 and like try to block it. So I would be inclined to say trading one pair of rooks is good, but I would like to keep one pair of rooks to keep the pawn at bay.
Okay. Does that give you a good first answer, Rachel?
Yeah. Wait, sorry. So you said that it's if you trade all the rooks, then it's easier for the 2 versus 1 versus the 5 versus 4?
I guess it's like that's not like super related to trading the rooks. It's more related to trading the minors. But yeah, like minors and one pair of rooks, I think Black is probably happier in the Grunfeld if we have the majority on the queen side.
Yeah.
But David can correct me.
Yeah, I don't want to do too much correcting. But I think it's great to see, if Rachel, if you can catch up very quickly, so you're on a level playing field with Anushka from the things she's telling you, right? So she's telling you the 2-on-1 majority can be an advantage in the end game. So Black's pretty happy to make some trades.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. The flip side of that coin is look at White's pawn center. As Black, sometimes you're successfully making pressure against it, and you're, maybe one of the pawns looks like it might drop, or you're forcing the pawns to not stand next to each other, and you're getting squares for your pieces, you're creating counterplay. But if that pawn center ever looks like it's great, a great pawn center basically favors the middle game, right? Because it means your pieces are on better squares and can maneuver to both sides of the board better in a middle game. So if White's able to keep that pawn center really nice, then
don't trade the rooks.
Then one remedy for Black would be to try and trade off a few pieces so the pawn center is less of an advantage. The pawn center will look the same, right? But it'll be affecting less pieces.
I've never ever thought of that. That's okay. I'm going to think of that during my games now.
That's part of why Black's playing the Grunfeld. D5, knight takes D5, knight takes C3. From the very beginning, from move 3, part of Black's strategy is to trade off pieces. They know that they're giving White this pawn center, and they're reducing it how much it matters.
Okay.
And you can
but it's not safe to say that like someone who plays the Grunfeld like enjoys playing endgames more. Like, does it seem like the Grunfeld opening leads to quicker endgames generally, or no?
Well, so you've got a competition to some extent, right? Because the default position, if Black wants to trade, is that White doesn't. So then, if White's trying to avoid trades, then it's a question of who has more control over where the game goes, right? If Black has more control, they force all the trades. You'll get more end games. If White has all the control, they'll avoid it, or maybe they'll fight back and forth and have to make concessions.
And then the light squared bishop, like whether it goes to b7 or e6, is just a matter of if d5 can be played. Kind of.
It depends on.
So like you're saying
things. Often bishop e6, if it gets stuffed by d5 from White, then it's going to be a terrible move sometimes.
It is not good. Yeah.
And
okay,
it might
but
be
it's worth considering if d5. Okay,
go ahead. Sorry.
It might be amazing to put the bishop on a6 since black's looking for counterplay, for example, on the c4 square, right? As long as your bishop was on d3, that wasn't possible. But you notice that once you retreated the bishop to b1, Anushka actually moved her bishop from b7 to a6 at some point. That was a very good move by her, specifically in that game, and probably in similar positions, it's often good.
So whether or not d5 can be played and where the other light squared bishop is. Okay.
Yeah. And like, let's say white's played f4 instead of f3. Maybe then your bishop's better on b7 because that whole diagonal is less solid.
I wanted to say this to Rachel, actually, is that the reason you play knight e2 and not knight f3 and as white against a Grunfeld is... Sorry. Huh?
Oh, no. All I know is the f3 thing, so you can't get pinned.
Oh, yeah, but you played f3 anyway. Like, I was giving up, like, instead of going bishop g4, provoking f3, and going bishop d7, which is, like, a thing that people do, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to b7.
Then you don't play f3.
Well, I don't know, but you played f3 anyway, and I was happy about that. I don't know if I should have been, but I wanted to talk to you about it.
It definitely weakens, I think, the white side a little bit. Like the bishop on e3, and I had problems. I was thinking about f4, but I felt like that was just doing too much. Like if I ever push after that, I wasn't sure.
f4 is okay. When I talked to Sarah about the Grunfeld for the first time, she showed me a game where like she just went for f4 because she didn't know theory. She just like puts her pawns, and it worked out pretty well for her. And then I also know that after f3, maybe without f3, but like when you get to like a standard Grunfeld position, the computer likes just pushing the the h pawn for white.
Okay.
So that's everything that I know about the Grunfeld.
Wait, so sorry, the computer likes pushing the h pawn after f3?
I mean, usually it's after I play f3, because I play against the Grunfeld too, because I play into it now. Right. Whenever I've already played f3, usually like the plan that that the computer wanted me to do was to go like h4, h5. I don't know why. I don't know what it does. I don't know anything about the Grunfeld. But yeah.
And then what do we do with the e pawn? Do we just leave it there?
As black or as white?
Yeah, as black.
Sometimes you push e5. I don't think there was ever a point in this game where I liked e5, so I'm not going to do that. And there's some lines in the Grunfeld where you stay in the center, and I know in those lines, like, f5 is good, e6, sometimes e5 is good. Like, you push the pawn sometimes, but also sometimes you don't push the pawn, and when it's, like, normal-looking Grunfeld game like this, I just, like, don't touch it, usually.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely right. All right, let's get some more games in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. If I rematch you, does it switch colors?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay.
Which is what we want, right?
Yeah. God, why does it... Every time my game restarts, it goes into focus mode. I don't know why. But then I have to turn it off. So it's this move now. And then this move, and this move, and this move. C5 and castles. Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, game 2. White castles again. Now they've switched colors. So Rachel's playing her first Grunfeld of her life, I think, here. In the last game, Anushka played knight c6 in this position. Rachel trades first. And then knight c6. Attacking that d-pawn, and if the d-pawn pushes forward, she has bishop takes a1. Very good position for black. So in this position, white almost always plays bishop e3. An alternative move is e5, which is not as good here because it kind of commits the pawns a little bit. It makes it easier for black to pick their squares around those pawns for their pieces. So it's often nice to keep the pawns next to each other for a while. Bishop e3 achieves that. And Rachel was curious about what pushing the e-pawn would do to the position, so now we're going to get to see it. Right? Can white defend d4? No, there's literally no piece that can go defend d4. Does white want to sack d4? Unlikely, right? Because black taking on d4 by pawn or knight is going to be an amazing square, and that's a valuable pawn. So then the question is, you know, do we have any instinct whether we want to push or trade? I have a very strong instinct in favor of pushing, as Anushka chooses to do after thinking about it for a bit. The advantages with d5 are a couple. Number one, we leave that bishop on g7 locked in by that e5 pawn, right? Number two, we get a protected pass pawn here. Nice and strong. Disadvantage, we block our own bishop here. Also, there's some tactical concern. The d e5, knight e5 hits the bishop, and then maybe on the next move something like knight g4 or knight f3 check or bishop h3 could even be considered by black. But basically the black pieces are looking pretty chirpy here, so I would want to go d5. Yeah, prophylaxis says in some lines white sacks the exchange to exploit dark squares. And what that would generally look like would be something like knight a5, bishop d3, bishop e6 looking for knight c4, and then d5 from white, allowing bishop a1, queen a1 with control of the dark squares. This is almost always playable for white. You can just see at first blush that bishop h6 wins back the exchange after f6, bishop f8. That's not what white normally does. They don't take back the exchange, but that already tells you how plausible this is, right? But I think the normal thing that white does is they then play f4, f5. Try to crank the black king side open, which has basically 0 defenders on it right now. Okay, but here we're going to get to see an example of e5. White pushes. If black plays knight d4, it's a pawn sack that doesn't really give any compensation, so it'd be down a full pawn for black. Hi, Elise. So we get knight a5. That's what I expected. Bishop d3. And, oh, we're seeing the total, like, King's Indian player playing the Grunfeld here with Rachel. Now I see why she was asking about e5 and, like, f5. So she's definitely not calibrated in any way to the Grunfeld yet, which is cool. It's fun to see. It helps answer some questions about the Grunfeld, right? To see these kind of King's Indian moves. So, yeah, normally black would have a pawn on d6 and white would have a pawn on b2 in a King's Indian, right? And then white would be looking to play on the c file and pressure the d6 pawn. That would be the base of black's position and make a mobile pass pawn. Theoretically speaking, or very generally, the weakness of pushing like f5 and g5 and King's Indian type moves here without a pawn on d6 is that white can open the center by d6 themselves when they want to, and then their pieces can flow through the center towards the black king. When he's removed his pawn cover, he's going to be more exposed than the white king until his pawn cover is successfully crashed into white's king, which takes a while. So generally the black king is going to be more exposed than the white king for a bit here. All right, let's see how Bloodqueen reacted to this move. f3 holding her structure. And now we get b6 from Rachel. Queen d2 from white. Rachel reacts as if bishop h6 was threatened, but this bishop is way better than this one, so I don't think that's what was coming. Does she go g5? Yeah, full King's Indian. Rawr! Fear the King's Indian player. I mean, I don't fear the King's Indian player, but, you know, surely some people do. So g4 and stuff is coming. Yeah, it looks terrifying. I believe in white's position entirely. but g4 comes pretty quickly, and then black gets some work on the white king position immediately. Rook c1, and Rage is just sending it h5. Could she have played g4 without h5? It looked to me like she could. So, ideas for white, maybe queen c3, g4, queen c7. Now white would rather an endgame because this passed pawn will be so strong in the endgame here. Queen c3 gets played, okay. Yeah, for anyone wondering, we currently have our call muted so we don't hear each other, so they can play without hearing what the other person's thinking. And I can comment without them hearing me. Okay. So black could do rook f7 to try and stop queen c7. Or black could play g4, queen c7, queen g5, right? Making a square for the queen to dodge the trade. And Rachel plays g4. 1 minute left for her, 2 minutes for Bloodqueen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kostya, I'm guessing. We're really seeing a King's Indian player playing their first game with the Grunfeld, and yeah. She hasn't fully got to the memo yet that it's a different opening. But it's cool because it gives us a whole different look and answers a bunch of questions that we normally wouldn't get. Rachel's talking to her chat, and Anushka's talking to her chat, and I'm talking to my chat, and then we all come back together periodically between games. Queen c7 comes in. This should be a quick move for Rachel. She's got to avoid that queen trade, and she thought about g4, so she should have planned that she had a square for her queen, I think. She might be confused by the comment I made after their previous game, where we were discussing between the three of us, and Anushka and I were saying that black's happy to get endgames in the Grunfeld because of this pawn majority here. But here she's kind of playing half Grunfeld, half King's Indian, right? And these pawn moves on the king side are hurting her cause in the endgame. So she moves away with the queen, which is good. Now, what should white do? Well, d6, d7 comes to mind. Also an idea, bishop e1. Looks very weird. But you could either take the knight and then come into c6 with rook or queen, or you could go to b4, try and run that rook out of squares, and bring your bishop into e7, perhaps. This looks very strong to me. It's a weird-looking move. Also, I'm not sure how we deal with gf4 in response. We might not even have time to do my move. Bishop c4 looking for d6. Rachel's going to have to trade that, and she did take the trade very quickly, so she was confident about that. Now she'll have the move bishop h3 here, threatening queen g5. This position would be even stronger if black's queen were already on g5, but it's looking pretty decent for black, even though it shouldn't have. Confusing. Confusing. What do we get? Knight g3 to cover the king, but that's a full rook if black takes everything. Wait, and the king is still open. Queen f3. No, doesn't get played. They're down to seconds, but it looks crushing here for Rachel if she spots f3 hanging. She didn't see f3. She plays a different move. Still up a lot of pieces here. Now she spots f3. Gets the rooks together. Beautiful. She can always throw in some checks if she's about to flag. Get 2 seconds on the clock. Grabs that e-pawn. Wow. Queen f5. And black's up a rook. So the first thing we've learned here is that the King's Indian Grunfeld can work, right? You can play f5, f4. And can be very tough for the opponent. Struggling to find a checkmate. There it is, checkmate. All right. Found it. Turn back on the mics.
Hello.
That took me way too long to checkmate you. I don't know why. I just like panicked and started
It's
moving
fine.
my king.
I was having a good time. I was making funny comments to chat.
I was like, why am I not checkmating?
Yes. That was a question at the very end, but earlier we got to see something crazy, right? I mean, Anushka, she just played like it was still the King's Indian, not the Grunfeld.
Oh, Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you want to
Surely
play,
there was something.
if that's how you want to play Rachel, you could stick with the King's Indian
Stick with the kings.
if you want to.
I don't know. Just usually in King's Indian, I don't end up being able to.
You don't get
kind
to
of
do
thing.
that whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know if. Yeah. I wanted to play e5, f5. I thought there might be some kind of counter, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really see it at the time, so I was like, okay, we'll just see where this goes.
Anushka, have you ever tried this as black in your Grunfeld games, playing e5 and f5 so early?
No, never. But that's also because I never really thought for myself, you know. It was- Yeah.
You repeated some theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's interesting. It worked really well. I had no idea what to do. I was kind of like searching for a queen trade and I just couldn't find one, and then I stacked all my pieces.
Yeah, you came up with the same plan as I did, queen c3 to c7. And
You
then-
you could have taken my f pawn with check like 500 times, and I just kept like, you know, I should have. I mean that game was lost. That was a pretty terrible game.
Yeah. But yeah, queen c3, queen c7, the queen dodged, and it's not obvious what to do for white at all, right? Very weird. Very weird. Oh, now I have an idea that's like not that standard that I didn't think of at the speed at which the game was played, but maybe you could have played like king h1, rook g1.
In preparation.
Yeah, because
Like
like with the
defensive
queen on
move?
c7, she might not be able to play g takes f anymore.
I was thinking instead of queen f6, I was expecting queen g5, and then
Yeah.
and then here if I play king h1, takes.
Yeah, I
Oh.
thought after king h1, rook g1, I didn't really know what to do after rook g1.
That's a good move actually. I didn't think about defending at all.
Yeah.
Silent but deadly King's Indian attack.
That's
I don't know, that's what they call it.
Because that bishop h3 is like the most dangerous thing to you, right?
yeah. That I didn't even see that coming. That was actually a very good move because I didn't have a good response. I should have like taken the attack more seriously, I think, which is my problem in chess, as I'm learning.
Okay. All right, you guys want to flip that around, and Anushka, you could try the e5 f5 plan.
Do I have to do that?
No,
Plan?
you don't have to at all.
Okay.
I'm just giving you an idea. Like sometimes it can be cool to take an idea and then like the other person uses the idea, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be this one,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes you'll do a plan and it works, and then the other person's like, well, let me just try that plan and see, you know, see if it works for me.
Okay.
But no,
Yeah.
you can play anything you want from the sparring position.
Okay. I might just to see how it feels. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you'll convert to the King's Indian.
No. I will never. But like,
Why? Why the King's
because-
Indian hate?
I don't know. It's not hate. It's just not. It's not my vibe. You know. It's not my.
Fair enough.
Not my. It's not my. Yeah.
I like the King's Indian when you can push F5, F4, and G5, H5, but that's more often than not the case.
To be fair, I also like pushing that against the King's Indian. Like I just basically do the same thing. So maybe it is my vibe. Maybe I should just try it.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pre-move everything.
Oh my god. Sorry. Every time I reset, it like messes up my. Oh my god! I almost played E4. Okay. All right.
Did I do this right? I hope I didn't make a mistake.
What?
I pre-moved
Oh,
everything.
you pre-moved
She's trying to
everything. Okay.
Pre-move the entire opening.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you did it right.
Yeah. She got it.
Okay.
All right.
Bye bye.
Have a good game.
Bye bye.
So here in all previous games, White's castled kingside. Looks like there's no reason you couldn't play bishop e3 as well, maybe get something similar. Oh no, black could maybe then trade and play queen a5, and it would be slightly different. Yeah. So castling looks good. Knight c6 quickly from Bloodqueen, without the trade on d4, right? And that's how she did it last time as well. She played knight c6 without trading on d4. Rachel with black did trade on d4 before knight c6. Here you definitely it would look very different to play e5 without the trade, right? Because now after d5, the c pawn's still hanging out there. Bishop here. Now does black play b6 or c4? It'd be rather different, but we're getting the trade. So far following the second game here. And then knight a5. Okay, so back to like the plan from the first game. Knight a5. After bishop d3 in the first game, Anushka played b6 here. Rachel and I talked about how bishop e6 is also a move, and Anushka tries that this time. And now we mentioned that, you know, rook c1, bishop a2 is interesting, and d5, bishop a1 is interesting. And if white doesn't do one of those interesting moves, black probably just plops the knight on c4. So white might almost be obliged to go for something interesting. Maybe queen a4 would be another move that stops black from bringing a piece to c4. So that would be another move I would consider, queen a4. Now, I'd be a little suspicious that black might play a6, b5 in response. Could be desirable for black, I'm not sure. Okay, we got rook c1. So the big question, can black take the pawn? My instinct, just from, you know, a certain knowledge of theory, is probably yes, they can. In the sense that, like, no other move really makes sense for black, and it doesn't seem like they've done anything wrong up to this point. So, yeah, we see Anushka going for it. Seems good. So rook a1, bishop could even maybe retreat to c4, right? So queen a4 makes the most sense to me as the follow-up. You could also play d5, just cutting off the bishop from ever retreating, huh? I guess that's another candidate move, to put the pawn here so the bishop can't really get back properly. Okay, but Rachel plays the crucial move, I think, here, queen a4. Bishop b3 or bishop e6. If bishop e6, bishop d2, that could be a problem. I'm just going to try out a variation, folks. The knight can't come back to c6 then because of d5. Maybe the knight can go to b3. d5. Knight takes to take here, huh? Okay. Bishop e6 played. Okay. So d5, bishop b7 is possible. White has compensation for the pawn of some kind, even without anything super special, because the knight's trapped, right? Can't go to c6, can't go to b3 or c4. So there's a certain compensation for sure here. White's got the c file, some pressure here. If you go b6 to avoid that pressure, then after bishop here, you can't challenge the file. White's got this nice d pawn taking space. There's definitely still a feeling of pressure. White played d5 after considerable thought against bishop d7 and should be ready for that. I guess there's queen d4 or bishop b5 here. Or queen a3. Yeah, didn't think of that. That looks similar to queen b4. It just doesn't control c4 as much as far as trapping the knight. b6, very likely move. And now if bishop a6, maybe black grovels with bishop c8. Okay, goes after the dark squares on the king side. Another interesting idea would have been maybe this move. Trying to get black to play f6, right? And just hurt that bishop a little bit. And then we would just drop back here, or even to d2. Or even to d2 then, right? And this move's just not good for black, so they're not happy about it. Weakens e6. They don't really want to play f5 in these positions, because their pieces are discombobulated and this piece doesn't have central influence, right? And white might want to go knight d4 to e6 or something, so having the bishop blocked is helpful for that kind of a plan. So bishop g5 was plausible here as well as this bishop d4 move. Two candidate moves that both make sense. Maybe my bishop g5 move black could have answered with rook e8, and then if d6, f6. Okay, we get e5. White opens the middle of the board. Now we've got to trade the dark squared bishops, but now after trading the center, black's got more hopes of getting this knight back into the game at some point, and then using their extra pawn. So what does white have for the pawn here? Not very much. I guess a rook coming out. I think black could play rook c8 if they want to here. Queen f6 is also plausible, defending dark squares around the king with the queen and getting her off of the rook and out of the way of her own rooks. So queen f6 is a clean positional move. Anushka comes up with it, but she spent some time on e5 and this move. So although I don't think that Rachel really has compensation for the pawn right now, she has caught up on the clock that she was way behind. And she throws her majority forward. Great move, Rachel. Right as I say that there's not compensation, she immediately shows it's not 100% true. There's at least play. You know, there's stuff white can do with both e5 or f5 that could legitimately bother black a little bit. But in theory, you know, rook c8 and rook d8, black should be somewhat sound and able to start trading some stuff. Wait, where's the queen going if white plays e5? E5? Hey, Graham, is it? You switched from YouTube to Twitch, huh? Yeah, putting hours in. I mean, here I'm helping some other people to put in the hours. I actually think maybe rook e8, oddly, to be able to answer e5 with queen e7 might have been needed there. But okay, we get bishop g4. That makes some space for the queen on e6. She goes to h4. You're not going to be able to get at the white king here, are you? Oh, idea was to trade and take this. I thought white would play g3 here. Get a Tradeovich. And Rachel says, no, I'm down a pawn, so there will be no Tradeoviching today. Knight gets into the middle of the board, but there goes that extra pawn, right, over on a7. Oh! Oh, rook f4 kept her from doing it. And queen b6, that would be equal. White could have equalized here. Yeah, the low time is going to be stressful here. Rachel takes a shot at the black king, introducing the f-pawn. But there go the queens. Oh, man, that's painful for white. That queen trade. Sucking all the good stuff out of Rachel's position as Bloodqueen with that queen trade. She wants to trade another rook, too. Wait, there goes her extra pawn. Well, now she can't really delight in this endgame now that her extra pawn is gone. The white rooks repassive themselves behind that f-pawn, and Anushka's taken over the advantage in this endgame here. She recovers the f-pawn and trades. King e6 hangs the rook. Oh no! Rook f6 check! Almost the endgame technique, but we can see that they've got seconds instead of minutes as they play this endgame. And now it's back to a position that black can clean up. They're sparring a new opening, Graham. An opening that's new for Rachel. She's trying out the Grunfeld for the first time. Okay. And there's a first win for Anushka today.
Well, clearly my endgames need work. I don't really know what happened there.
It's also a time scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have intuition when it comes to endgames. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you had an active
I didn't
rook
know.
somewhere around a7, and then you brought it back to f2.
Yeah.
And then you were worse.
Yeah.
I think it was equal before the time scramble. Actually, maybe I was worse.
I was happy at one point, maybe before we traded everything. Like, I think when I played, like,
F5.
yeah, I don't know exactly where. I think I was happy when I played bishop d4, I think. I was like, okay, I'm like, because I didn't think, I wasn't doing too well before that, I think. Then I played bishop d4 and I was like, okay, maybe I'm okay.
Okay. I think e5 for me was not actually that great if you just left it there. Because I just gave you a protected passer. So I think
So you
think
say
I
it like
was,
if I just move my bishop away?
yeah, I think it wasn't a good move, but when you took, then it was a good move, I think. Or I was happy. I don't know if it was a good move.
If she retreated, you could have belatedly used her plan of e5 and f5.
That's true.
Just
I could have done that.
Just with a random, unrelated extra pawn on the queen side first.
Yeah.
I
But
guess.
yeah, other than that, I didn't think there was anything. I don't think black was like super worse at any point.
Yeah.
So, me personally, if I just played this game with either side, one of the first things that I would ask of my opponent after the game was over is what they thought of the pawn sacrifice. So that is very early in the game, right? It's like move 13. White plays rook c1 and black takes on a2. To a certain extent, that's a little bit of like a disagreement of ideas in a chess game, right? Like white saying like I can leave the a pawn hanging, and black saying I can take the a pawn. And so after a game, I would first ask my opponent, like, did you think the pawn sack was good or bad? That would be kind of my first question here when sparring this kind of opening. So do you each have a take on that question?
Well, I mean, she ended up pawn up, so clearly it didn't work out so well. I don't know. I just didn't think that anything else was, because I knew like knight c4 was coming. I didn't really see a good alternative to rook c1.
Okay.
At that point. But I mean, maybe like if I think about it beforehand, I don't know. After knight a5, it seems like, yeah, I just didn't see a better alternative.
Okay, but you didn't love it.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but maybe I'm like a little bit too materialistic anyway. But yeah, I just didn't find a good alternative to rook c1.
Okay, Anushka, did you think the pawn sack was good or bad?
I didn't think it was good, but I'm trying to find an alternative that's also fine. Okay.
I thought of 3 moves in this position, including rook c1. I thought of d5, allowing bishop takes a1, queen takes a1.
Oh, yeah, one of those.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
That's a normal.
I guess you're threatening rook bishop h6 too. Yeah.
You can always win back your exchange with bishop h6 if you want, but I think the main way they play it is they just stay down in exchange. They just say it's a really important dark squared bishop, and they just play d5.
I think this is also theory.
Yeah.
And like leaving d5 there because you can't take the bishop on e6 because then their bishop is hanging. I feel like that's
right.
theory.
Good point from Anushka. Yeah, that's an important theme to know. After d5, bishop a1, queen a1. Black doesn't have to move the bishop immediately because of queen d3. So black could play f6 there.
Yeah. I think f6 is theory. Like I think all of that is theory.
Yeah. And then the third
So
move
how
I
do
thought
you...
of would be queen a4. Trying to stop knight c4 as well with the piece. So I think those are your candidate moves. If you both don't like rook c1, then next time you have this position as white, you should try something other than rook c1.
Right.
Okay.
Wait, could we go back to the f6 line, or the d5, bishop takes a1, queen takes a1, f6? What's like a plausible continuation from there for white? It's just I'm really bad at like converting, like if I'm up dynamically but down in material, it's hard for me to maintain the advantage sometimes. Like I don't trust myself to keep the initiative if I like trade an exchange.
I think theory, again, I could be wrong because I'm remembering like this is from before I even really knew how to play chess. I think it's bishop h6 and then rook f7, and then you like knight f4 or like something. You do something, and then I move my bishop, and then yeah, I play. It's a game.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be down to try it just to see if I can like hold the initiative. But
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so
Not in a classical game. I wouldn't be comfortable playing that in a classical game, probably.
so this is a line where some people could potentially know tons and tons of theory because it's very sharp, right? And it's been a famous line for 40 years.
Yeah.
But you know, if you randomly get paired against somebody who hasn't just prepared it and isn't a grandmaster, the odds are they won't. Not the average person is going to know the 100 moves of theory that a few people do know here, right? So it's important to just know some ideas, I think. And so ideas, I mean, white's going to not want to trade rooks once they're down in exchange. They're going to want to attack the black king, who's been weakened a little bit by f6 and g6, right? So to me, the logical moves to play for are h5, f5, or e5. And so you just want to find a coordination of your pieces that makes that possible.
Right.
So in theory, you could play something like bishop h6, rook e8. Rook shouldn't go to f7 because of pawn takes bishop and then pawn takes rook check.
Oh.
So rook e8, and then knight f4, and then bishop d7 or f7, and maybe e5 there. Something like that, trying to see about busting your queen through to g7, or maybe sacking a piece on g6 at some point. If you could cut all the black pieces off from the king side, for example, I'll play something dopey for a moment just to show you this idea. What could it be? I will play rook c8. It's not even that dopey, right? Okay. e6. Bishop a4. Oh no, my rook c8 move wasn't dopey enough. Bishop takes g6. H takes g6. Queen b1. That might be winning, except that I set up bishop c2 for black by accident by not playing a dopey enough move.
Right. Okay.
But
That's interesting. Yeah, it looks fun to play.
yeah, so that would be one approach, right? And then if that doesn't work, you could try f4, f5, or h4, h5. So I think that's a famous position. And I would also say after e5, in addition to e6, the pressure from the queen on a1 has an idea of playing d6. And then if e takes d6, e takes f6, kind of breaking through towards the king side. So there's a few ideas. And then you can often put your rook on d1 or e1, and it might strengthen one of those threats first.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I'm just tossing out some random moves. I know, you know, other people my level might have a bunch of moves memorized, but I just know some ideas.
Yeah, d6 is a cool idea.
Can we run it back and say exactly when d6 is a good idea?
So it's with the e5 plan. So I played
After
I
bishop
played
h6,
I played bishop h6, rook e8, knight f4, bishop d7. Maybe bishop f7 is much better, by the way. But after bishop d7, I played e5, and I was saying in that position, white might have an idea of playing d6 next. Or e6. They're probably threatening one or both of those things, and black has to play the right move that works against either. Bishop f7 looks much better to me, and the idea would be against e5 to play bishop takes d5. But you're like 100% forced to play bishop takes d5 there. So that tells me that against bishop f7, maybe the move rook d1 would threaten e5 very powerfully, and so we'd better prepare a defense as black. Queen c7 or something. I don't know.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom really quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be right back.
It's a fancy line. Really good players have played this against each other back in the day. Like Topalov and Shirov.
Okay. This is good. This is the first time I've ever really like thought about the Grunfeld.
You just been playing it your whole life without thinking.
Yes, my whole life. I popped out the womb.
Your whole chess life. The rest of it was just, of no consequence to us chess players.
Yeah.
Whatever happened,
Yeah.
happened, and then there was your chess life.
Yeah, there was before chess and there's during chess. And there's never going to be an after chess. Understanding the Grunfeld was a good. Oh, it's a good book about the opening. See, I'm not even that far. I don't understand anything. I literally just like if any of you are like new to chess or like coming into chess and you think you're good at memorizing stuff and you're like this is my strength in games, so that's what I will do with chess and that's how I will win the chess games. I did that, and clearly it worked because I like haven't looked at these lines in a year or more and I still remember them, and it's not helping me win these games at all. So if that motivates you to not follow my lead, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you think Rachel should try playing the Grunfeld at this tournament?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You think she's ready for a switch and she can pull it off in a couple weeks?
I think the King's Indian is a big point of confidence for Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would recommend her to do it for this tournament. But then, like, if you think like that, then you're never going to do it. And I think she should learn it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she'll like it. So, Grunfeld.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Do you guys want to switch to the symmetrical position, the second position that Anushka gave us, or keep going with this one?
We can switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My light just turned off for some reason.
Okay.
I'm just in the dark.
Goodbye, light.
Mind me, just need to figure that out.
Okay, so for the symmetrical Grunfeld, we're just going to need to play G3 for white on move
Yeah.
3.
3.
And we'll fianchetto our bishops, we'll get castled, and then black will play C6 and D5.
Mm-hmm. I think I would get this a lot when I was playing the C4 or D4 C4 knight F3 move order for the Catalan, specifically to avoid mainland Grunfeld. Like that's when I would get it a lot. But now I get it a lot as black,
Okay.
obviously, because yeah.
Okay, light back.
Yay. Okay, ready?
Yeah. No, this is super helpful. I already know the Grunfeld better than a lot of other openings that I play. So this is really awesome. I've never had someone break down an opening for me like this. Like I've only ever just kind of gotten a chessable course and saw some lines and I was like, okay. But to have it like explained so simply and like overarching is so valuable. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah. An advertisement for not getting courses.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Okay, so are you gonna tell me the moves, Anushka?
Yeah, I can tell you.
Okay.
I'm also gonna be playing white, so you can just play Grunfeld things, and
okay.
I'll just be playing as white. So you can, just play knight f6. Are you is it doing a thing?
Yeah, I need to figure out. It goes automatically into focus mode. I have to click out of it every time. I don't know why.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So I'll play G3 move order.
Okay.
Actually, I guess I'll play this. I'll play the knight f3 move order because sometimes I like accidentally play this in bullet too, because I'm not looking at what my opponent's doing, and I feel like that would be helpful if that's okay.
Is this a Grunfeld thing?
Yeah, this is still a Grunfeld. It's the same exact thing. I'm just gonna play knight f3 first.
Do I play D5 now? Or do I castle?
No. Yeah, you just castle. Okay. And then after I do this, now you can play c6 and then play d5.
Okay.
And then we get this like symmetrical position. Yeah.
Okay.
And then from here we can start.
So I'm just going to say one thing for you, Rachel, even though the game's already going. If you play d5 without c6 in this line, white will play cd5, and if you take with your knight, they'll play e4. There's no knight on c3 for you to trade, so your knight will go wandering somewhere bad.
Yeah. Okay, so I had to play c6 before d5 in this.
Pretty much. I mean, there's other lines you could play. Like, you could play the King's Indian, if you wanted to at this point, right? Because white's played the fianchetto.
Right.
You could play c5, you could play d6, you could play knight
Right.
c6. But if you want to play the Grunfeld, this is the main way to keep a Grunfeld going. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
David out. Enjoy your game.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, in my chat, I'm just going to go check on the status of the kids real quick while they're playing. I'll be right back. Okay, I see they haven't played all that many moves yet. Anushka's played this knight e5 move, which is like a very, very main idea for white in this opening that she would have encountered before from the black side, right? And now Rachel's come up with a less obvious move, leaving d5 hanging in order to open up her bishop and try and neutralize something. It's a very hard move to find. It really makes you wonder if Rachel hasn't seen this opening before, but yeah, very cool. Very cool that she could find that move. Amazing. A good sign for her potential career as a Grunfeld player one day. So Tactics wondering about, so we get knight takes e5, which is going to lead to some opening of the game, right? Tactics was wondering, can we do this and this to just say we've got the better structure as white? But you also have the worst piece at the moment. So how helpful is that structure for you? I think maybe black would play for this move, right? So maybe I'll go even here. Bishop a6, rook e1, e5. Takes knight e5. Oh, black is so active. So active. That looks nice. I like black there, honestly. Already. Maybe some different move orders are possible, because maybe my move order with bishop a6, white might have this move queen a4 here instead of trading. Maybe that's something to try for white. So maybe black should play e5 first, and then if white takes, then you go bishop a6, hitting the rook. White could sack and exchange somehow, but looks fine for black. All right, let's get a flavor of the game. Knight takes d5. She's going to have to trade with knight d takes e5. D takes e5, bishop e5, bishop f4. Okay, so Bloodqueen preserves the better bishop and looks to trade black's better bishop, offers a pawn sack on b2 backed up by some calculations on knight or bishop c7. Oh yeah, for sure, Beastie FFX. All right, Rachel tries taking that pawn. Does not trust Bloodqueen on the knight c7 threat, calculates it, and decides to go for it. Sometimes you can answer a move like knight c7 with e5, right, folks? And then they take your rook and you take their bishop and the knight never gets out. Other times you answer knight c7 with rook b8, and then when the knight moves somewhere, then you play e5. Rook b1, just bringing out another piece, putting pressure, bishop e5. So there's no tactic on c7. It's going to be pure positional compensation for the pawn here for Bloodqueen. Unless there's a tactical move here for her that I don't see. But yeah, I expected just that trade. Then we want to move the queen towards a square like here or here. We want to pressure the dark squares with our queen after the bishop trade. And then bring this rook out to either d1 or c1. Try and make some pressure for white. So queen b3, queen a4, queen c1. Lots of possible moves. It's going to take her 2 moves to get to a good square. What's the best square for this queen? Something like here, maybe? Queen d4, trying to do the 2-step maneuver with tempo, looks less good maybe because the knight hits your queen. But if c3 is the best square, then maybe c'est la vie. We just end up there, right? And then rook d1, it's 2 moves. Who cares what happened in between those 2 moves? Either way, it's 2 moves. So queen d2 looks at c3 and b2 and maybe h6 in some case. I guess queen d4 gives black the least choice. They have to go knight c6. You go back to c3. They can't play e6 because of knight f6 check. And if they play bishop e6, probably have rook b7. No, rook d1 first. Oh, super beastie. That's super cool. Awesome. It's a good example of it. So queen to c2, knight c6, rook d1, queen a5, a4 looking at rook b5. And the queen would kind of run out of squares because she's fleeing the square d8 where white has knight f6 check to trade minor and rook for queen. So a4. Trying to go rook b5. If black goes bishop f5, e4, does that help black? Bishop f5, e4, bishop g4, f3. A4 looks like a pretty high-class move. Kostya approves. Not at all obvious. Taking away a3 from the black queen and setting up very annoying rook b5. Rook d8 doesn't look good in view of rook b5 again. Queen a6, knight c7 closes the trap. Finally, she resorts to a6 to stop rook b5, and this allows knight b6, you know? So a6, it was on everyone's radar as a way to stop rook b5. It was undesirable, so Rachel agonized over this for a while. Knight comes in. Wait, does white have rook d5 next after the rook moves? Does white just have rook d5? Rook d5, knight b4? Queen c3, queen b6? Oh, it's not so obvious. Goes for the trade and then rook d5. Huh. Goes to d5. Now black's escaped the worst of it, right? The queen got out. Bishop on c8 got traded. And they've only got 15 seconds to play a whole middle game plus endgame. So does this allow rook d8? Not exactly, I guess. Rook b8 might save the game here for white. Knight c6, and now you could trade it. Uh-oh. They don't see a little tactical detail here. A little backward move. Lots of positional moves ensue. Is this what young people call memeing? Rook on b8. Ay, ay, ay. Escapes its prison. Rook f8 recovers the pawn on f5. If rook f7, you can trade it and take bishop takes f5. Oh yeah, I'm not asking you, hockey chess dude. King f2, rook f3 check would have been a decent answer. Now the bishop improves itself a little bit, getting a full-on bullet endgame here. Bishop d5, good move. Looking to simplify a bit. Oh, knight d3 check is evil. No, it doesn't happen. The rook runs away happily. Whew! I thought knight b4 was sick. Bishop c2, no! Oh my god. The rook gets behind. Stopping rook a1, that's devilish. Nope. Decides it wasn't devilish. Finds the a pawn. Uh-oh. Better stay behind that h pawn. There we go. That's gonna do it for that game. Whew. Okay. Yeah. All right. GG.
I definitely messed that opening up. I didn't like that position was really bad. Knight d7 was definitely bad. That's definitely not something to play as black.
Okay. So you guys
I
know
didn't
from
mean to blunder my b pawn.
You didn't mean to blunder the b pawn.
No, I
Okay.
didn't. I actually just didn't see that it was hanging. So.
But
that's
do you know
important.
what my first question would be, having just played that game, if I were one of you? What
Yeah,
would be the
is
first
it good?
question? Was it good to give the b pawn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you may have blundered it, but how did you both feel about the position after bishop b2?
I didn't like it for black. I think I'd happily. I think white has so many options. I think black is like you're kind of on your. You have to play good moves, otherwise you just lose immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
I thought I had
yeah.
compensation, but I was like clawing the whole time.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So bishop takes b2, very interesting moment. That's exactly the kind of thing that you want to talk about briefly after a game, is whether you liked white or black, right? And then at some point you want to dive into more games, right?
Yeah.
Here's a little thought on how to get in more games in a session, right? You can really focus your discussions after the game on like evaluations at key points. You don't need to go over everything. Like, it's useful for you to play out the whole endgame so you get a feeling for what kind of endgames are you getting from the Grunfeld, etc., right? But you don't need to discuss the whole endgame unless you've got questions that you don't know about it, right? So, so key points like, was bishop takes b2 good or bad? Was knight d7 from black good or bad, right? Just like your opinions on a couple things like that, and then you can get into another game more quickly. Another thought that I wanted to give you about this is, normally in a chess game, when you're thinking about something, like after knight e5, let's say you're thinking about knight d7 during a normal chess game, you have a pretty high bar for playing the move, right? Because you've got time on the clock and you don't want to play a bad move on your first move out of your opening knowledge or something like that, right? So normally you think about it. But actually, when you're sparring an opening, you can play any interesting idea early on just quickly, just because you see it. You can just be like, oh, knight d7 looks interesting. I'll try it. You don't have to figure out if it's good or not. You just try it. You play the game, and then you can discuss a little bit and then either try it again or not try it again thereafter, right? So because you're playing these like 5-minute games, you see a move that looks interesting, just try it. That's the way you sort of answer your questions about things. So often when people learn openings from a book or a course or something like that, they don't know like the whys behind some moves. They like think of some move and then it's not mentioned and they just say, oh, I guess not, and they keep going, right? But it's a great learning process to just try out some moves, and you don't have to make sure that they're sound or not. Actually, Rachel, I think that move looks super cool. Knight d7, very interesting.
It looked cool, and then and then after I was like, okay, which piece do I take back with on e5? And I was like, okay, hold on, we have some problems here in the position.
Yeah.
I was wondering why you didn't take with the knight, because I calculated after knight d7, I was always gonna go for knight takes c6 and just like play against the backwards c pawn. Maybe not backwards for that long. Maybe it would have been that good. But the only reason I took is because I thought you were gonna take with your c knight, and then I was gonna take, and then you're gonna take with your bishop. For some reason, that's the only move order I considered, and then bishop f4 I thought was good for me, and because like if you go back, then I'm controlling c7 and whatever. But then once you took with the other knight, I realized that you had two knights I could take, and then I thought you were just going to take back with the other knight, and I thought you were honestly better.
So you thought just leave
even
the
after
bishop on
bishop's
g7
f4?
and put the knight.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise I really wanted to play bishop f4 with tempo.
Right. Could you just play, or I guess if you just play, I guess bishop f4 pins my knight, but I can like pretty quickly play e6, right?
Bishop f4
And then move your knight.
pins your knight.
Like even if I take with the knight, like knight takes e5, you play bishop f4. Yeah, and then what do I do, like e6 or something?
Well, but what is the knight pin to?
Well, I get like if I move the knight, then you play knight c7.
Like, what if you just play like bishop e6 or something?
I mean, yeah,
I'm
like, but
missing something.
it's. No, I can just play bishop e6. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just annoying that like I can't move my knight on e5. I guess.
Your knight's on a super good square on e5. If it
Yeah,
just
it's
chills
nice
there
there.
for the next like 8 moves and white doesn't unseat it, okay.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I don't
No,
I
yeah,
don't
so,
know what
okay,
to
so
do
next
as
time I
white
can
in this
take with
position.
it. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe knight d7 wasn't so bad. It was more taking with the bishop.
Yeah, and then you also like I played bishop f4 because you took with the bishop anyway, and then you took my pawn, and I was like, oh, that's like my pawn is, you know, like now I don't have the tempo anymore because you got a tempo on my rook, but then I get the tempo back on your bishop, but then you went back to f4, and then you allowed the trade, so I don't think allowing the trade again was good.
Well, like let's say I play bishop g7, you just play knight c7, no?
I've done this before. I don't know if it's good. Like here, knight c7 here, and then like, where do I move my knight? That's good. I don't know.
Wait, sorry,
Like,
give me a line. So rook b1,
bishop g7.
bishop
yeah.
g7, knight c7, and then
Knight
let's say
c7.
queen trade,
Oh,
and then rook b8,
sure.
rook b8.
Yeah, rook b8, and then where do I like what's the point? Like where do I move my knight? The best I can. Okay, in the past, like whenever I do things like this, I usually do something crazy and then I sack my knight for a pawn, and then you can like take with the bishop and then the rook's defended or something. Like this has never worked out well for me. But maybe there's something
Right, 'cause I
concretely
guess
that I'm missing.
I mean, I guess technically you can like force perpetual in a sense, like move the knight away. I have to play rook a8, and then you play knight c7. I play rook b8, and then it's just kind of like
Oh wait,
I'm just like
here I have. Oh, here I can take on c6. Okay.
Nice. A very hard
Oh, yeah,
tactic
you can
for
take
some
yeah,
Grunfeld
yeah.
For some Catalan players, it's very hard to part with the bishop on g2. So sometimes they don't
Yeah.
even look at bishop takes knight, but good flexibility, Anushka. Bishop takes c6.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. Yeah.
But usually this is not good for me, so I wasn't planning on going for this. But maybe I should think about it.
I just think the fact that like my rook is at your will, like I had to just play like rook a8, rook b8, like whenever you want me to, just that has to be bad for me.
But the thing is, I think that's bad for me because I'm white.
Why would that be bad for you though? You can
'Cause
just
it's a
control
draw.
where my piece goes. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but like just the fact that you have control over my piece, like that has to like there has to be some way to build off that. I feel like.
I think I've just had too many experiences where I like go for something and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we can say like the knight coming into c7, it's double-edged tactically. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it's a knockout. Sometimes it gets white knocked out because black plays like e5 and then takes the bishop on f4. And sometimes it's just complicated and neither player gets knocked out or there's a repetition. So it's a complicated element.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And here white has bishop takes c6. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is nice. Yeah.
It's good to keep in mind.
So just so you know, I'm keeping an ear out for my baby waking up. Whenever she does, I will pop off.
Okay.
But this has been a great session. Do you have any questions for me about how it's going or how you're doing it or how to do it in the future?
No, it
Makes sense.
just someone in the chat was like, "This is so gracious of David to give
Oh,
us
well,
his
yeah.
time," and I definitely
Yeah.
agree with that. Like I mean now that there's like it would have taken me I don't know how long to not even get close to understanding the Gruenfeld. Now that I like just from this 2-hour sparring session. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So you'll be repeating this at least one more time during these training weeks, right?
Yeah. We'll
So
find a time this week to.
So in
Would you recommend doing the Gruenfeld again or like a different?
You could do something else. Yeah. I mean, if you're switching openings, yeah, you might want to try and do the Gruenfeld again if you could. But,
Okay, yeah.
depends what.
I mean, I usually. Yeah, I play e4, so we could try an e4 opening.
Yeah,
as
depends
well.
also what Anushka wants to work on. And
Yeah.
I'm down.
And so on.
I'm down to try Alpin. I really like. I haven't looked at Alpin at all because every time I do opening stuff, I only do Nightorf, and then I get to the game and they play some like Queen takes d4 bullshit, and I'm like, so anything else other than the Nightorf is probably good for me to look at.
I'm always down for some Alpin, so.
yeah, BCFFX, I have not looked that opening up with a supercomputer since they got so good, so I don't know what the theory is on it. If you've got Stockfish's opinion, that's obviously worth more than my opinion. But from sparring that position a few times with white and black, I kind of liked the white side of it. That said, Anushka and Rachel, did you see in the training plan document that I wrote like a few sparring ideas, like some overlap openings that you have with each other or with Matt, and some positions from like Bloodqueen's games from Chicago?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it's under the training plans. I wrote some notes about possible sparring overlaps for you all.
Okay.
So if you're ever doing a sparring session without me, which you might do at some point, right? That could help
definitely
you.
will, yeah.
That could help you pick your positions.
Yes, Bloodqueen would be helped by sparring some positions from Chicago Open. Yes, it's true.
Yeah. I know we did one from my game, so yeah, I'm super happy to. Yeah. I think I'm particularly weak on endgames, so I would push for that a little bit, but any sparring is great.
And basically, the only endgame I have you doing, Rachel, is endgame sparring. And it's just there so you don't feel like unconfident about your endgame at this tournament. But it's not like we don't have the time and it's not the focus of your chess. Like if you're trying to play chaotic calculating positions, you'll get relatively less endgames. Right?
Yeah.
And it's not where we're trying to build up your strength right now. We're just trying to knock your opponent out in the middle game, right? So that's just there so that like if you happen to win a couple pawns and you have to trade queens, you don't freak out.
Yeah.
We can
I
do
mean,
endgames
in
too.
Chicago.
Oh,
I mean,
sorry.
yeah, I'm down for anything. In Chicago, I only had one end game, and it barely counted as an end game.
Yeah.
So
See, all my Chicago games are end games.
Yep.
I think
interesting, yeah.
every single one.
Which is why, like Anushka, for us, it makes sense for you to be working on. I think I gave you reassess your chess, so you're thinking about which pieces to trade, which end games are going to be good for you. So you're working a little bit on your valuation, and then we're trusting that when you get to the end game, you'll play the end game well. Right?
Yeah.
But for Rachel, we're trying to improve her strength in the middle game, so her opponents don't even get many end games, which I think is very likely. So
I'm super down for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's always done before me anyway, though. She's always like been waiting for the out.
Oh yeah.
I'm super down for a middle game blowout. Sounds great to me. Yeah.
I can feel that. Good job uploading your games from Chicago, by the way. So that's useful, Rachel. I started looking at them. I saw your first round game, which had notes on it, which is good. So that's a good start as well.
Yeah, the other games are different from the first round when I was not. Yeah, but hopefully you'll see the last round is a King's Indian blowout, but also he really didn't defend well against it. So, but yeah, I already had them imported in Lee chess, so it didn't take me too much time to just transfer them over.
Yeah. So if you want to keep playing, you can keep playing. If you're done, you can be done. I don't know where you guys are at.
Anushka, do you want to play one more maybe?
Yeah, we can play one more. Or if you want to do something like different vibes, we can spar some end games too. Because I've been wanting to spar end games since I started working on them too.
Yeah,
So
sure. I mean, how much time do you have?
all of it.
Oh, okay. I probably have to go in like 20 minutes or so.
Oh, 20
so
minutes.
So maybe we do like one more opening,
Yeah,
and then we
let's just
just
do one
find a
more, please.
time. Like, I'll just text you after. We'll find a time this week, and we could just do like a full endgame sparring session together.
Okay,
this
yeah.
week. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna rematch you.
Okay.
You might have to give me. Oh, okay, that's fine.
I can give you the moves. D4.
I mean, I think. D4, C4, Knight C3, right?
Oh no, knight F3.
Oh. Oh shit. Okay.
But we can also do this. We can just play this one if you want.
We can just play a game from this. I don't
Okay.
play D4, so yeah.
Okay. Well, this is like the first sparring thing that we did, basically.
Right. What
So
was
do you
it
remember the
taking?
move order with
For the first one I do,
C4,
yeah.
right?
Not for
Yeah.
the second one.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we mute this time or? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, have I missed anything yet? No. Normal position still. Tries out something new. E5. In this bishop space, right? Takes a lot of pressure off of D4. Endangers the light squares, right? Because the pawn structure is kind of committed now. So the question is, if black does something like CD, CD, knight A5, bishop here, does black have enough good squares for the pieces? Or are they going to suffer on the king side, right? Feels like they can generate some counterplay for sure. Let's see what we get. We get a CD4. And Anushka's liked the knight A5 plan in past games. It looks logical here as well. She goes for it. exactly what I would expect from her. So let me think, if I were white, what to do now? Hard to keep the black pieces out of those squares. So maybe accept that black's got counterplay and just throw that H-pawn at black? Potentially. Like, how much sense does it make to develop your bishop if black's just going to put the knight on c4 and then always be able to trade it? Prophylaxis also wants to see the hairy plan, just like me. Yeah. Okay, so this queen a4 move, that's trying to keep the knight out of c4 for a bit. Bloodqueen plays rook c8 pretty quickly. And, yeah, I don't think white's going to be able to keep control of c4 here. Yeah, Rachel's been taught to develop her pieces, so we see her trying to develop all her pieces in some way, trying to make some sense out of them. So this is going to put some pressure here, maybe restrain black. They might think there's a threat of bishop e7, queen e7, queen a5. Maybe there is. Black responds bishop c4 here, and this piece is hanging. Now there's some complicated calculations to do from Rachel's side. I would probably expect Rachel to look at, you know, bishop e7 and bishop c4 and maybe even bishop b4 here. So she'll usually spend a little bit of time on this position, I would guess. Because the lines aren't like super clear, and she's the kind of player who likes, who I don't know about likes to, who figures things out by calculating. So she could easily get stuck doing that for a little bit. All right, rook d1, defending the piece finally. Yeah. Developing all the pieces is not a bad instinct to have, you know. It's maybe not the most crushingly powerful position for white here, but that's more to blame on e5 than on this development. However, having played e5, I was definitely interested to see, like, let's give it a real shot with rushing the h-pawn. Like, I don't think now developing solidly makes sense with e5, right? So, but it's still just good experience with these positions, right? Because now we'll see how they handle it, what plans they each use. Right? Bloodqueen has to figure out how to develop her position, given that her queen's kind of tied to this, and she wants to get these pieces out. She might want to get this guy out, so she's thinking about f6. She's thinking about transferring the knight. She's thinking about her a-pawn. I guess she could play knight c4, and if queen a7, rook a8. And then queen c5 defends the bishop, huh? Oh, so it's not clear if she can play knight c4 or not. That's just good practice, you know, calculating this kind of option once or twice, right? Should she play knight c4? Should she play rook c4? Should she play a6? So the a-pawn is no longer hanging, and then you've got b5 as well as pieces coming in. How do you want to answer queen b4 if white plays queen b4? Some messages here. Bishop e5. Whoa! Tactic. Wow. Okay, so d5, queen d3. Got to be careful on. But bishop e7, queen e7, queen a5. Bishop h2 check. Queen takes e2. On to the next piece. Yeah, this position's getting crazy right here. Yeah, she's going for it. Bishop e7. I would say basically they'll come out either equal or black up a pawn. So this was perfectly reasonable for Anushka to go for, this bishop e5 solution. It answers all her strategic problems with the king side, right? Now she makes the trade in advance, so she decides that she doesn't want queen e7, d e5 maybe. Although then queen e5 looked sound for black as well. But she goes straight for this, hitting that knight. That knight's hit. Queen a5, queen e2. The rook's tempo. That looks pretty good for black. I might save my knight here with like knight g3 or something. Rook e3. Makes sense. Now black has something like queen g5. Queen c7 check defends the knight. Queen d6 is a choice. Yeah, I like that move actually. I just wanted to get knight c4 in. That's what I really wanted here. Good choice from Anushka. And I would say she's up a pawn for 0 compensation. If you put the white pawn back on h2, for example, right? Who would I prefer to be? I don't even know. I might even still prefer black, but it'd be very, very close to equal with the pawn on h2. So a full +1 for black here, plus 1.05 maybe. Bring the knight back into the middle. Beastie would prefer white with the pawn on h2. Yeah, it's a matter of taste. Okay, knight c6 instead of c4, pressuring the isolated pawn and just centralized. Goes back to the well with this tactic, but the rook on d1 is defended, and the rook on e3 can take it too. Rachel's confused. And Anushka just dropped an adult word on her chat. And even if the rook on d1 weren't protected, you could take on e5 with the rook like that. Yeah.
That failed for so many reasons.
I'm so upset. I played bishop e7, which was such a good move because the knight was hanging at the end of the line, but I didn't realize that the knight was hanging at the end of the line until after the knight was hanging and it didn't take it. And
Well,
then I
your
saw
knight's
the
hanging
next-
too, right?
Oh, okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But
I think
I could have
it's
taken
okay,
your.
but
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think
yeah.
black is fine though. I think black is actually not doing well.
I just thought bishop takes e7 was fun to play. I was like, I'm down a pawn no matter what, so I might as well have fun with it. But yeah, I didn't realize your knight was hanging. But I guess that's
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Well, maybe if I didn't hang my knight, then maybe it's fine for black. Maybe I'm biased.
Oh, you
But
mean
I
at
didn't
the
get
end
what
there?
I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
hung
mean,
it
I have a
multiple
pass
ways.
pawn. I'm just gonna put my rooks behind it. Maybe I don't know. You can probably defend against it. Just put all your pieces behind it. And I've gotten positions before where it's like all of one side's pieces are behind their pawn, and then all the other side's pieces are in front of it, and there's just like it's just like stuck. Everyone's just stuck. So.
Yeah. I don't know how that would end up. But I thought I was going to be doing well after all of this little demonstration, and I don't think I was. So it definitely was evaluated.
I think you were. I think you were up a pawn, and your position's fine.
Yeah, I miss that you could take on e5, honestly. I wasn't happy after bishop a3, or like, yeah, I don't know what to do after, or I don't know, David, if you'd have recommendations after bishop e6, and like, you know, similar to the other structure too, and I couldn't play d5, like, yeah, I don't know what to do in this case.
Right. So normally white plays bishop e3, not e5, right? That's what you've played in some previous games.
Yeah.
and holds the center. So you tried this move e5, which is a different move. Once you play e5, I feel like white's not going to win control of the light squares. d5, c4, like you can't really keep control of them. So I thought if you want to play e5, maybe it's interesting to then rush your h-pawn to h5 and not even develop the pieces. Just,
interesting.
but you tried to still use all your pieces in a way that was logical and like sort of, you know, arrange
Wait,
them
could you
all.
explain why, like what about e5 makes you think of pushing the h-pawn? Because I didn't even consider that.
Well, basically, I can't stop black's counterplay anymore. Like, Anushka has control of c4 and d5 at this point. She can play rook c8 at will. She can play bishop d5 or queen d5, knight c4, bishop c4. You can't stop it.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe just since you opened up the bishop on d3 towards g6, maybe go like h4, h5, and at some point knight f4. And just throw some stuff at the king side. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's logical.
Yeah, no, I just figured like to try something different than what we had done before.
Right. So that was my thought process. Let's try something really different then, right? Because like at this point, playing bishop e3, knight c4, like I don't see what it's doing for me. Or trying to now bring your rook to c1 when we didn't develop as fast as we could earlier. I'm like, well, we might as well like throw something really different at the game.
Right. Yeah. No, that's interesting though, because I feel like I should have at least a thought of playing h4, h5, but I didn't even consider it. So it's good to realize like, okay, if I'm gonna play e5, because I was like, oh, I block in the dark squared bishop, so that has to mean something.
Sure.
But I guess I also have to think like it opens up the light squared bishop, so I can try to utilize that with h4, h5. Yeah, it's a good.
No, like so e5 does also have the idea like you lock away that g7 bishop. Maybe then you could play the queen side because the bishop can't get there, right? But because you've played e5 so quickly, you're kind of a little bit down on tempi, right? She's playing bishop e6 and your bishop's on c1, and she's playing rook c8 for sure before you play rook c1. So if you want to play e5 in a slower way, you have to still play bishop e3 first, develop all your pieces, and then at some point when black's threatening your d-pawn later in the game, you play e5 and play that position. Then you're not committed to h4, h5. You could definitely play the queen side that way.
Right.
But since you've spent a tempo on e5, I really think you can't really meet her on the queen side quickly. So.
That's a good point. Yeah. Huh. No, this is really helpful just like in general of evaluating opening positions, because usually I, have positions I've never played before. So, oh, he left. No. Hi, David.
The child is woken up. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think, Anushka? I thought you were gonna play knight c4.
Okay, I have to run.
Bishop
I'll leave you.
Okay.
Two. Have a good evening. Great work today.
Thank you.
And don't get burned out. Enjoy what you're doing. And any questions, you've got me on chat.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
And let's see. Anushka said she had a lot of time, so I'll try and raid her chat.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Guys, everyone go follow Chess Dojo right now.
They better already be following Chess Dojo after our stream.
Yeah. All this free learning.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
I thought I was gonna play knight c4. Like.
Oh,